All right, it is 6 o'clock. We are going to call the meeting to order. Tony, have you heard from Vice Mayor?
She's on her way.
Oh, okay. We're going to call it back from recess for September 9th meeting. We're going to pick back up at the planning calendar. Would you like me to read those, Tony?
Oh, I got it, I'm sorry. Planning calendar, special city commission meeting on Monday, September the 30th, 6 p.m. City Hall Chambers. Final FY 24-25 millage rate and budget will be on the agenda. Item B, Town Hall meeting on Thursdays, October the 3rd, 6:30 p.m. Archer Community Center. And item C, City Commission meeting on Monday, October the 14th, 6 p.m. City Hall.
Thank you. All right, old business, agenda item 1 is the audit update.
Madam Mayor, I spoke with Caleb this morning. I have spoken to him every 2 weeks since the middle of July. And every 2 weeks, he tells me the same thing, that our accountant has put him off for 2 more weeks. Apparently, she's been out of the office the last week. And we've got to get this done. We've got an audit that's got to get done. And it's going to be late, as it is, but he says he can't do anything until she gets the reconciliation of the accounts done. She hasn't done that, so I don't know how y'all want to proceed, but we need to proceed with something. This audit's got to get done.
Yes, ma'am.
I talked with her this morning, or about 1 o'clock. She was off Monday and Tuesday for her birthday. She got sick Wednesday, and the doctor this morning, she's got bronchial pneumonia.
Ugh,
And
I had that.
And Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
since she cannot do her job and this audit is that important, then I'm going to make a motion that we contract out to a CPA to come in here, reconcile our accounts so that we know our records are right and we can get this audit done.
All right.
For the sake of discussion, I'll second that motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Holt. Commissioner discussion.
The auditor is getting frustrated, and his concern is that we're going to be late, and it's going to throw a red flag up to the Auditor General, and, yeah, so it needs to get done.
Yes, ma'am. Further
Madam
discussion.
Mayor or Commissioner White, if you can answer it, does he have a recommendation of an accountant contract service to utilize?
He said that he could recommend one, but they couldn't supply one because they cannot audit their own work. So
Did he provide that one, that recommendation, or he did not?
he's got a couple of them that he said he could recommend. One I do know was a former accountant with them, and he's retired. But it was also suggested we might be able to reach out to the county and they might loan us one. I don't know. But we need somebody in here on our accounts. And we need it tomorrow. but-
I can call the county first thing in the morning.
Thank you. Commissioner Holt, did you have something else, or were you just thinking?
I don't know if Commissioner White is willing to amend her motion, but I'd like to detail the procedures that we're talking about. One, reach out to the county, number one priority, and number two, have Caleb provide us those two references. So we have to have a special meeting to make that decision, to go ahead and act and move on that, we can.
We do need to act on it now. I mean, we've got to call a special meeting, and we need Deanna to advertise it so we can have it. soon.
That's what I mean. Would you be willing to amend your motion to detail that specificity with it, please?
I will amend it. Deanna, will that give you enough time to, how long do we have to advertise? 24 hours for an emergency meeting?
So 24, yes. Yes.
So it's Monday. Could we come back? How many can come back on Thursday? Sorry. I'm
Maybe
just-
Thursday this week.
I just got chosen for jury duty, so hopefully.
I mean, we're in an emergency situation, I
It
feel
supposed
like.
to last 2 days. I'm just getting out at 5:10, so I should be able to make it.
Would that give her enough time to advertise it and do it Thursday evening?
To be enough time to advertise, yes. Although Deanna, if that's incorrect for some logistical reason, please let me know.
That she's saying something.
I think she said that's it.
That, I think she says correct.
Then I will amend my motion to come back Thursday evening with the two names from Caleb and hopefully a update from the county and to move forward on the audit.
Thank you.
I second that amended motion.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm writing this down Thursday at 6, correct? Correct.
Yes. I believe he named somebody from the county also, Joe somebody, but I don't know who it is. I mean,
Okay, thank you. Public discussion on the motion.
Hi,
Hello.
Charles Tufano. Question more than anything. So when we move forward with this CPA accountant, what happens to when our accountant comes back? So I guess my concern is this: our current bookkeeper has been putting us off, which I'm sure she understands gravity of the situation. So who is going to be the lead? Our bookkeeper or the person we hire to do the audit? I mean, to come in and reconcile the accounts
it will
as
be
you,
the accountant that we
Hi.
contract with.
okay, not our bookkeeper.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Karen Fiore. I have to say, I agree that from what I've been witnessing, that I feel like we've been pushed off by the bookkeeper. But she's an employee at a different level. I think the eyes truly need to be on your city manager and the mayor for allowing this to continue and to continue and to continue. I'm very pleased to hear that the commissioner has recommended this, but this is also very late in the process. And we need to take ownership from this level and not push it down to the next level. Thank you.
Good evening, Bill Ondowski, citizen. So, I mean, I agree with everything Karen said, and I couldn't agree more with the motion. I mean, it really makes perfect sense. You have a big problem here. I was on a phone call this afternoon with the guy named Michael from the Florida Department of Revenue and Reemployment Tax, and from what he's told me, they've issued a letter of notice of delinquency to y'all for the reporting period ending 6/30/2024. And you've been delinquent since August 1st, 2024, in terms of filing your reemployment tax employer's quarterly reports. So that's a big deal. So he and I had a nice conversation, good guy. And when I told him I was going to bring this to your attention today, he thanked me. He said it's nice to have somebody who's representing the state for a change. I'm not representing the state, but obviously. But you have a problem. And the first step to addressing it is to admit that you have a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. No more public comments? Commission, are you guys done? No? Okay. All right, let's go to a vote. All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 2 is a city manager status.
Again, I asked this to be brought forward when I found out that our city manager had moved 118 miles away. And I had to learn about it on Facebook. And he still hasn't told me. I don't know how many others knew about it, but it kind of concerns me that we've got a city manager 118 miles away, and how that's going to impact us. I want to know from legal, we pay no mileage back and forth to work, right?
You do not?
And we pay no motel overnights if he gets caught in a long meeting.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
When I left here at 1 o'clock in the morning the other day, I drove home and I got home at 3:30.
And didn't make it to work the next day.
That's right.
However-
I took the day off.
However, and that's what I'm asking, how is that going to impact us, having a city manager here when we need it?
It's not going to impact you at all. I get here at 8:15 every morning, and I stay here till 6 o'clock every evening, just like I normally do. When I decided to do this, I talked to the mayor, she knew it. I talked to the vice mayor, she knew it. Commissioner Hope knew I was going to move. I told you I was going to move. I told Commissioner Hope I was going to move. And I told you eventually that I was going to move because I told you that my
Me?
yes, ma'am, I
You
told
may
you.
have told me you were going to. You
Exact-
didn't tell me to Fern and Gina.
I didn't tell you where.
No, you didn't. And you said that your rent, that he was going to sell the house and you were going to have to move.
He went up for my rent in January from $800 to $1,100 a month. And he was going to sell that house, and there's not another place in Archer that I would rent. I asked the attorneys to look into that, and there is nothing in the charter and nothing in my contract that says I have to live here.
I know you removed it.
I did not remove anything out of my contract. No, I did not. No, I did not.
Okay. Legal, let's go to legal.
But the bottom line is, I am going to retire in May when my contract ends, and I'm not going to move 2 times, once because of Charlie and once when I retire. So you know where I'm going next May. I've had enough.
Sweetheart.
I'm not sure what the question is. I guess I'll comment on a couple of
I
things.
think she was asking if it, yeah,
He answered my question.
she did answer, okay, all right.
You mentioned something about being in the contract as far as like, I'm gonna paraphrase it. Like, yeah, if they have to live in the area or close to the area.
His original contract, he had to live within 15 miles. The second one that came before us, that we agreed to, because we didn't look at it, did not have the housing requirement in it, and it included vacation and sick time at the highest level. So, yeah.
Madam Mayor, I would have to look back at the contracts to tell you. I don't know off the top of my head which versions had which provisions. But I can look
tell you,
into
I mean,
that.
I've looked at it several times, and
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we allow or ask legal to look at the signed contract for our city manager to ensure we're talking apples to apples and what we had before us.
Thank you.
we're really talking prune to prune.
Well, I remember when Zariah Folston, I wasn't on the dais, but I remember when you all hired Zariah Folston And I remember he had to be within so many miles of the city, but I don't know if you all changed it
When
when he
we hired
left.
Tony, he did too. However, that was changed when the second contract was changed. It was changed to no requirement.
Madam Mayor, would you allow, or me to ask legal, would you be able to have that provided for our emergency meeting on Thursday as an agenda item so we could discuss
Absolutely. And
apples to apples, prune juice to prune juice, whatever diatribe we want to try to talk about so that we can move this forward to the next level, please?
absolutely. I can have you a timeline of those provisions in the previous contracts.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. All right. Reports, correspondence, communication. Oh, and then city manager's report, and this is from September 9th meeting.
Item 1, you got the overtime report attached. Item 2 is talking about the food drive. Item 3 is just a list of code violations that then will go to the magistrate. Item 3 is a notification that we received a $10,000 special events reimbursement from the county. Item 4, Item 4 was the special events reimbursement. Item 5 was the redesign of the Veteran Court Challenge coin. If y'all would like to proceed with that, just let me know. There's an attachment in the back of it that talks about it and what their thing is on it. Item 6 is what Public Works has done over the last 30 days, cut-offs and killings and leaks and done some debris removal, stormwater pond cleaning and things of that nature.
Thank you. And attorney report.
You'll hear more from us later tonight, but nothing for right now.
Okay. All right, commissioner reports from Monday. What did you have for Monday? We can start with you, Commissioner Holt.
I continue to represent Archer as the chair of the North Central Florida Planning Council and attend those meetings on a regular basis, also the MTPO meetings, and that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Commissioner Green.
Just continuing to serve on the SAC committee at Archer School.
All right, Commissioner White.
I don't even remember. No, I had nothing.
That's okay, we gotta go through a whole nother meeting. Vice Mayor.
Well, I am on the YMCA committee, and we have an event coming up. I want to say it's a fundraiser. I want to. Yep, it's September the 26th, and it's going to be at the YMCA this year. September the 26th. It's going to be at the YMCA. So anybody who played pickleball may want to come to that. Also, I went to, did I say this, the summit in reference to farming?
You didn't.
Okay, I went to a summit in reference to farming. I thought about Ms. Green and I got to get the information for you. It gave a lot of information how to boost on Tuesdays.
Oh, for the
The farmer's market. They had a lot of ways to boost it and some ways that you could get income from it. And so I'm going to get you that information. And it had a lot of people who do trading of seeds and a lot of information. So I went to that. And what else did I do? That's it. I had a YMCA meeting on Zoom, and that's it.
Okay. All right. Like most everybody else, I don't remember what I was gonna say for last week, so we'll just circle back when we do this next meeting. All right, At this point, we have public comment.
Good evening again, Bill Lewandowski. I'd like to renew my call for a moratorium on industrial development. I'm not set on just industrial development. Anything with a CUP I would also include in that. Here's my rationale. We had our first real stress test of our ordinances, particularly for a large project. If you look at the Planning Commission, there's no direct line that shows the Planning Commission to the City Commission for CUPs. Now, we all assumed it, I certainly assumed it. They had their meeting, but if you look at the ordinance, I was wondering why there was no report. If you look at the ordinance, there's no requirement for them to give a report. And then when we go to the CUP meeting at the city, they're saying, well, we really can't use that. That's different from like zoning ordinances where they provide a report, and for variances where they provide a report, but not for CUPs. So that's a big deal. Because what happened is that the citizens, the developer, and the city spent a lot of time and money going to these things, and it was nothing more than a dress rehearsal without attorneys, aside from the city attorney. So it was a complete waste of time. And then it was just like a throwaway. There's a lot of other things that came up that Mr. Flagg had mentioned during the CUP hearing. No matter if you guys had actually voted, no matter who you voted for, it would have went to appeal because there's these big gaping holes in our ordinances. We need to fix our ordinances before we make any more important decisions. I've been asking this since June. We would probably be close to having that process done. It's like a 6-month process, I believe. If we had done this in June, we'd be well on our way to having this addressed. We need to do this. It's really important. We waste time and money in order to do what's the right thing. So please, please, please vote on this. Thank you. Oh, one other thing. Mr. Hammond, Mr. Arnold had submitted a request for a business license a couple of days ago, September 10th. He got it the same day. It's the quickest I've ever seen it because it took me 6 months to get mine. Regardless, on his application, he lists parcel number 0504-000-000. If you just type that into the county computer, guess whose address that comes up? Mine. I don't think he meant it that way. I don't think that Mr. Arnold was ready to make me a business partner. I could be wrong. I'm pretty talented, but I don't think he meant that. It's probably a mistake, but it just highlights process issues. Just highlights process. And he lists another parcel, 05047-000000. That's legitimate. That's kind of the east side of that property, kind of across the street from Mr. Hope. But he lists parcel number 7, and the other one he lists parcel numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You go to the county map, they just don't exist. So we have process problems. Let's review this and get it done right. Thank you.
Madam Vice Mayor,
Yes.
on that line also, we also had, it's more than Mr. Arnold. This moratorium is more than Mr. Arnold. The Casikis had an issue with a mobile home versus modular home, a land use. We need to look at it, and right now, we've had people reach out to us and say, we will help you. So we need to do this.
Bob Kosicki, citizen. I also agree with him about the moratorium. I mean, it's funny that with all this going on, all of a sudden, Mr. Melvin Lauderdale came to work with the city a little bit this last week. And he owns, close to 150 acres industrial on the east side of Archer. And that's industrial. So do we plan on having things all of a sudden on both sides of Archer that are industrial, that are going to be working this way? Who knows? But until we find out what can or can't be, or how we're going to do this, if it says you can do it, it can be done. And if they got plans to do it, who knows? Maybe he's working with Mr. Arnold, and they'll all go together on this. No idea. But there's where we're talking, is we have more industrial land here that we don't know what anybody's plans are. And since he's already come to the city hall and probably talked to Mr. Hammond, who won't say anything because he didn't with Mr. Arnold, Something's got to be done here. Something's got to be changed.
And at this point in time, we do not have, to my knowledge, we have no applications in front of us. So, I think now would be a good time. I'm looking at you. Attorney wants to speak.
Oh, my bad.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to. The moratorium process, what we're putting together, Danielle and I, a memorandum. You asked at the last meeting that we put it together. Moratorium process is dictated by Florida statute. It's dictated by rules of administration and regulation put together by the state of Florida. We have to keep in mind that one of the things that we have to have is something in place and rolling to get our code to where we want it to be before we can put a moratorium in place, which means we need to be reaching out to planners to put that process in place so that we can put our moratorium in place. And then the next thing that we need to keep in mind is that we only have 6 months, and that's sort of where the 6 months goes hand in hand when we say this is about a 6-month process. The process that is 6 months is getting a planner engaged, getting a full rewrite of our comprehensive plan and how we're going to structure all of these changes that we want. And that is a minimum of a 6-month process once we've really engaged someone. So that's sort of the step-by-step is we start the ball rolling, we say, okay, because we've got this coming down the pike that we are in the process of getting started, we're going to put a moratorium on. We can't just say one day we're going to get around to it, we put a moratorium, and then we don't take any action for another 6 months.
And I understand. So I just want to understand clearly. First, we engage a planner, and the county has said that they would work with us. So that's the first step.
Right, is getting a sense of it, because then that gives us a sense of, one, is it going to be 6 months? Or maybe we put our moratorium at strategically time it so that we can finish it in that 6-month period. That sort of helps us get a sense of how long is it going to take. I couldn't tell you how long it would take to rewrite our comprehensive plan and make all of these changes that would need to be done. That would be something a planner could tell us.
If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Lewandowski offered his help with that also. Am I correct?
Yeah, so may I approach?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
as a point of injunction, Mr. Hammond, would you please share after Mr. Lewandowski speaks the update on North Central Florida Planning, and if you've had that conference meeting with them and their master planners as an offering, and also the price of the individual that you disclosed to me. Thank you.
Yes, I just want to remind the commission to follow up on what Commissioner White said, is that you had voted to start the process already. I've agreed to work with anybody. I've agreed to coordinate it at no charge. I'm not a planner, you all know that, but I am I'm really good at project management. You guys have seen my resume, so you know that. I've agreed to do that. We can start right away. I'm willing to do it at no charge. So as far as I'm concerned, you already voted on it. I've accepted. That process can start. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, for clarification, Mr. Lewandowski, what process are you speaking of, sir?
I'm sorry. So, as
Kirsten.
Kirsten, thank you, Kirsten. So as Kirsten said, you have to have a process to start in order to have a moratorium. So you have to be able to demonstrate that you're ready to move forward in order to do that analysis. And so you've done that vote, you've actually made that decision, and it's really just a matter.
Moratorium, sir?
What's that?
For the moratorium, sir?
No.
Right,
The planner, for planner, yeah, right.
For a land
Correct.
development code review.
Correct, and that's the first step in the
Thank you.
process.
That's all I need to
Yeah.
ask you, and you answer. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, okay.
So just
I think the city manager is going to speak to Commissioner Hose.
Madam Mayor, I'd just like Mr. Hammond to disclose an update from a week ago and what you were going to try to do with Scott Coons as the Executive Director of North Central Florida Planning Council, and what they could or could not offer in this land development code review, and then what price tag you got from an individual that said that they could do something that she's already working on in another community, but there's a price for that.
I talked with Scott and Sandra, and they can do it, they just needed to know what depth we wanted them to do the review in and adjustment before they could make a final determination on it, because we weren't sure how in-depth they wanted to go. When I talked to Allison, she's currently doing one with Mexico Beach right now. When I talked with her and told her what we were looking at, her final price was $125,000. Mexico Beach's was
And
$135,000.
that's a full land development code
Correct.
review and rewrite,
Correct.
as we've gone through before in the comp plan that we do every 7 years.
Correct.
And Scott Coons is the executive director of North Central Florida Planning Council, of which we contract with them for that services to whatever scope, unless we want to detail the scope outside of what we get for $7,000 a year. And Sandra Joseph is one of the master planners.
Correct. I just
Assisted
needed
us.
to call them back and tell them what depth we wanted to do that plan in, which is a total rewrite.
Have you had that conference call with them, or that's what
That
we're
was the
waiting
first
on
one. I gotta
now?
call them back now that I know what depth we are going to go through with this thing.
And Madam Mayor, I'm not trying to make the decision, I'm just saying the process here and what Mr. Lewandowski is offering, his assistants and things like that, we certainly could include citizens' input if we wanted to detail that scope and whatever we wanted to do, but we could utilize North Central Florida Planning Council and their master planners to do that.
I talked with Scott, I think it was, Scott and Sandra, I think it was like Wednesday afternoon
Of last week.
of last week. I was supposed to call them this week.
Okay, and Madam Mayor, I'm just disclosing that for the citizens to know that this process is moving forward. We just want to make sure that we utilize available services that we already have. Certainly, I'm not prepared to speak to $125,000 price tag from Allison McGrath,
Right.
but we certainly already have that contractual relationship with North Central Florida Planning Council, of which, based on how we define the scope, when we have our citizen decision to move forward with that and drill down in certain areas, if it's just industrial redefinition or whatever, we could then provide that. And so they would know what kind of scope of service and be able to tell us how and when and how long that would take.
But we also have the county that is not going to charge us.
Right,
So,
okay.
I haven't seen that in writing yet. I hear that, but I have not seen that in writing
I think we did.
with the scope of,
I'm sorry. I think we got an email to that effect.
we haven't even defined clearly the scope of service. So I'm not distrusting of the county, but I know that once we start defining exactly what we want, there could be a stopgap between what the county can and can't provide. That's all I'm,
I'll call the county in the morning and talk to Michelle and see what they can offer.
and if they say the same thing, you define the scope of service. Now enter Mr. Lewandowski and the opportunity for any citizen input to have workshops and clearly define what we're trying to do here. Not, Mr. Lewandowski, that I'm not refuting your free service, but I'm just saying we needed to make sure we have legitimate, credentialed master planners, whichever direction we go. All due respect to your assistance, but unless you're a certified current master planner, we would need to have that.
No, I think I was really clear up front when we had this discussion that I'm not a planner, and I'm willing to work with anybody. What I just want to do is get the process moving, and I'm happy to coordinate it and put my time and effort in.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's why we're reaching out to master planners, so that we do this one time and the process moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right. Public, were you, Miss Lisa, were you, no?
No, it's okay.
And Green Citizen. First, I want to say, Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
you facilitated that meeting last week just to perfection. It was amazing how you kept all the speakers in line, and it just moved right along with the attorney. And Commissioner Green, your testimony was about the most valid on the table, in the fact that your father worked in concrete and had a living wage and supported his family along with your uncles. And this is what I'm looking for, is for private enterprise. And what don't you understand about that? And when she said, you can stay on the dais, but you can't vote, what is there not to understand about that? He said, I think I understand a lawsuit, which is not going to happen. It's just sad that you have this kind of leadership. And the other thing, I've been hearing about the not having a financial report these last few months. I think one of you could have taken a yellow pad and a pencil and made this budget. But thank you.
And I agree.
Thank you, Ms. Green. All right.
Charles Tufano. I would like to also support Mr. Lewandowski's suggestion and just ask you folks to listen carefully to all the issues that he brought up and to institute this moratorium, because there are a lot of discrepancies between our master plan and our building code. So I really hope you folks vote on that and vote to put that in place tonight. Sounds like you've already started the process, so you could vote on that tonight. Did you begin the process?
We're beginning the process. If I'm understanding the attorney right, we're beginning the process, but we have to have it in place to have a moratorium.
Correct. You have to be able to show that you're taking steps to start that, and you're limited in time, so it's helpful to do that anyway.
Okay, thank you.
And Madam Mayor, for clarification, that's why we're engaging the master planner process opportunities between county and North Central Florida Planning Council.
Thank you. All right, so, she's gonna come. Well, come on. I won't cut you off again.
No, I was just wondering if, as the process begins, and there's an application that comes in, would that affect how things evolve, or would things stop again? It just seems like this is something that would have happened before, right? Like a while ago, so that when applications come, you kind of have that in place. So now I'm just clarifying, because I am in agreement. You know, we need to do some kind of stop and reassess and figure out what we want to do in this town, because anyone with means can turn Archer into an industrial wasteland, and is that what we want? Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Thank you to all of you. We are going to adjourn this meeting at 6:38, and we're gonna go to our planned meeting for September 16th. Commissioner Hope, you want to pray for us? So we're gonna call our next meeting to order. It is now 6:40. Commissioner Hope, are you gonna pray for us? Or? I'm sorry, 6:39.
For those that'd like to participate, if you would stand and bow your heads, please. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to freely and peacefully meet this evening. Please grace us with your presence to provide us the civility to listen well, the civility to discuss with reason and discern those opportunities to assist our city in moving forward with the actions we take this evening. Be with all those in their return home. Be with all those who aren't present with us. And in your gracious name, we thank you. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, additions or deletions to the agenda?
None from the staff, Mayor.
All right, adoption of agenda. Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner White and a second by Vice Mayor. Any discussion from the commission? No. Public discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Motion carries 5-0. All right, first on the agenda is public comment. So please, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and you have 3 minutes. Guess we got it all out a minute ago. For now. All right. Let's go down to the public hearing. Agenda item 1, resolution number 2024-22.
Madam Mayor, this is a resolution of the City of Archer, Florida, determining the amount of and fixing the tentative rate of ad valorem taxation for fiscal year 2024-2025, determining the current year rolled back rate, and the date, time, and place for the first and second public budget hearings as required by law, authorizing the city manager to change the budget hearing dates if necessary, providing for conflicts and severability, repealing all resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Commissioners.
Madam Mayor, I will move to adopt resolution number 2024-22 for discussion.
Thank you. We have a motion from Commissioner White and a second from Commissioner Green. All right, who wants to?
What was the tax rate last year?
The millage rate last year was 5.5479. I'm sorry, the millage rate was 5.5479 last year. 5.5479.
And did we go up the year before, do you know?
We did, but I don't remember.
We've gone up 2 years
we
in a
did,
row
but I
now?
don't remember the
I'm almost
percentage.
positive we did. No,
I didn't think we had, but
I think when we
Deanna, do you know?
she's looking.
Thank you.
So I thought we did, because I
I
thought it
didn't
was
think we had
lower.
gone up. That's why I was-
Because when we went up last, was it last year? But not the year before. But the year before when I first got here, they didn't, and then they were saying, well, we haven't did it in a couple of years.
They can't hear it.
She's,
Your mic's not on.
she's trying to remember or recall when we last went, increased them.
Yes, last for 2022, it was 5.5203.
Okay, and then before that was, or you don't remember? What was it, 2022? 5 what?
5.5203.
And then in 21, it was 5.5176.
5.5176, okay, I thought so. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So we did.
So, in 3 years' time, yeah, we've gone up each year. Madam Mayor, I've got a real problem with going up on the taxes. We need to, we really need to. However, I know the citizens are wondering what we're doing with the extra. It's not much, but we're not seeing a whole lot of being done with it. Now, I know it's not much, but we've gone up the last 3 years, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, so, and seeing no results from it.
Thank you. would you, you suggest keeping it the same, the 5.5479?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioners, any other discussion? All right. Do you want to amend your motion, or do you want to let the public continue discussion, and then if
Let's
need
hear
be?
what, they're the ones paying the, I mean, we are too, but let's hear what the citizens have to say.
All right, public discussion.
Karen Fiore. First of all, I can't stress, and I know I sound like I'm a bully up here, but the fact that you don't have any documentation from the city manager showing you what potential increase in the millage or decrease, what those numbers would provide you, there is no presentation, there is no effort made here. The resolution for the millage is weak. It doesn't even give the preliminary value or the percent increase over the rollback rate. Each taxing authority levying a millage rate must publicly announce before adopting the millage rate the taxing authority name, which you have in your resolution, the rollback rate, and the percentage increase over the rollback rate, and what the millage rate should be levied. This resolution does not state that, which is not required in the resolution, but you are required to verbally state it for the public, and it has not been stated. That's all I have on the resolution and the millage rate. But again, you don't have any numbers to even calculate for you to know that if you went to the rollback rate, how much revenue you would be generating for this year. You don't have that information. You should have that information.
Thank you. Additional public comments?
I'd like to further Karen's comments. I'm just kind of concerned because as I sat here and listened to the meetings, it just doesn't seem like that you have all the data you need to have a budget. We sat here last month, we listened to all the issues that were coming up. We're hearing more again. I just reported to you that you have an issue with the Florida Department of Tax, that there's going to be some kind of a fine with that. The process is broken, so I don't see how you can have a budget without the data. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charles Tufano. I guess my question is, when is this stuff going to get fixed? I've been coming to these meetings for a year and a half now. It's just one issue after another. If it's not the exterminator over in the, it's just one issue. Mayor Bailey, when are you going to fix this? Get involved.
I'm involved.
And then why can't we get any of this information? We have, all our citizens are here. I mean, it's very, very frustrating.
That is what we're doing here, Mr. Tufano.
How long does it take?
This-
You
as long-
keep saying the same thing, but nothing gets fixed.
As long as it takes. First of all, I can't do anything on my own, so that's why we're here.
Well, Mr. Kazicki made a very, very good suggestion many meetings ago, where each one of the commissioners would work with the city manager and then report back.
And we do. We do.
It seems like nobody knows what's going on. The commissioners didn't even know our manager had moved. They found out through Facebook, so you can't really say to me that you're
Okay.
aware.
Well, I didn't listen. I am aware of most what happens in this city.
Okay.
Not everything, because yes, I do have another job. And so I'm not here until the evening. But I am not responsible for everyone on this dais. I do talk to the city manager as much as possible.
Yeah, and if
I do try to intervene and if I know that something is going on. But that is as far as it goes. When it comes to something that needs to be done, for the city, that's why we are all sitting here. So continue to throw your rocks, I'll keep dodging.
I'm not here to throw rocks.
Because neither am I, and since you put it that way, I'm just stating the facts. That's what it is. I do what I can do. And I look into everything that I can look into. And if I disagree, I say so. So the city manager definitely know how I feel. I'm not gonna come here and be belligerent, disrespectful, and all of those things. I'm not gonna do that. If Tony cannot answer my questions I call the attorneys. So I'm constantly talking to both of them. Just because you don't see it or the rest of them don't see it does not mean that it's not happening. So that is what I'm gonna say to you. Of course, things are gonna come up. This is a city. So nothing's gonna be perfect. We are working on it. Things are coming up. Things are coming to light. There's been a lot going on. First of all, this has not, I think it started when we changed over our systems.
2 years
Which was, I think it started when we changed over our system.
About 2 years
We
ago.
didn't find out. Exactly. We didn't know that we had problems until toward the end of last year, and that's when everything started happening. But immediately when we realized that it was a problem, and Commissioner White was out sick with COVID, the rest of us sat here and asked the attorneys to please go to that company, do a letter, let's find out what's going on. So she was not the first one to figure out that something was going on. We had already said that.
Granted, but.
So
I think-
I'm done with that part. You have about a minute to finish your comments. Finish your comments, please.
It was just to communicate the frustration with the endless and never seeing any progress. We still haven't had any progress on the software system, and it's been 6 months or more.
Madam Mayor,
So
point of
it's-
order, we have a motion on the floor regarding our resolution number 2024-22, not general commentary about all of the failings of this current city.
Correct.
So could we please get back to
Thank
the
you.
motion, point of order, please?
Madam Mayor, I do have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the budget based on? What, millage?
5.5534.
5.5534.
So that's in the section 2.
So if you go back to the rollback rate, that'll change these figures in here, and I have to go back and redo them. It's no biggie, but it'll still have to change.
I think you're gonna have to go back and redo some anyway, Tony, but,
It'll reduce the revenue side of the house.
Use your mic. Please use your mic.
It'll reduce the revenue side of the house, and I'll have to go back and change that figure, those figures.
He's saying, well, first, Commissioner White asked about what the rollback millage is, and according to Tony, it's the 5.5534?
Correct, 5.534 is the
Okay,
building.
and repeat what you said. I don't feel that well tonight, so I forgot just that quick.
She asked what the current rate was, what we proposed the rate was, which is 5.534. And if we go back to the old rate of 5.5479, that will reduce the revenue on the revenue, in the incoming revenues, and I'll have to go back and change that rate on the spreadsheet. That's what I was saying.
Thank you for repeating.
Madam Mayor, I apologize, just some additional clarification. The percent increase is 10%, just so that we have that on the record, and we can go ahead and when we do our final motion, we can go ahead and add that into the resolution so that anyone who sees the resolution posted will be able to see it there too.
Okay. If we, if
Correct,
we go
if
on
we,
with
yes.
that,
That's not correct. I can't help but interrupt. That's not 10%.
Would you come to the Come to the mic, please, Ms. Ford.
Sorry. So I had to call the property appraiser to get what the number is. And it's not the 55 million that you're seeing. That was the May number, but there's a revised number that is in the system, and whoever in your organization is doing your trim notice will have that number. And that number that was provided to me was, sorry, hold on. Sorry.
I apologize. While you look from that, that's the information that I received from Deanna. I didn't do that math by myself. You don't want me doing math.
Right, so it wouldn't be 10%, and I don't know why I can't get to my number here. Let me just slow down here. Revenues. Okay, so it's it's 56 million. Why am I not seeing it here? I apologize. I'm not. 56,273,958. So that is the number that the property appraiser provided me when I called, and I would ask that the person in charge of your trim to verify that number, and so that we adopt the correct and do the correct thing here, because the rollback rate at that percentage increase would be 5.765%, not 10%, and that's a big difference. And I would hate to see it to go into record incorrectly.
Hold on, I'm trying to see what Deanna have.
For anyone who couldn't see, the mayor just asked us to hold on. She's taking a look with Deanna.
And one more thing, the city manager, when he was reading what the current proposed millage rate and what the rollback rate was, the numbers were not correct. So if you go to your resolution, your proposed currently is 5.5534, and your current rollback is 5.2507. I think there was a couple numbers missing.
No, ma'am. The current millage rate that Deanna gave me was 5.5479, and I read 5.5534.
So, if you're saying that can I address this? If you're saying that your current millage rate is 5.7 something, you just said?
No,
5.5479 is the millage rate that Deanna just gave me 2 minutes ago, or when we started this meeting.
As our current fiscal year 20, okay, so
Yes.
your resolution number's wrong. So this can't be adopted today. You need to fix those numbers, because that is not what's on your resolution.
I'm looking at you.
I can tell you that I verified the numbers that we were provided. I didn't make the numbers, but those are the numbers that were provided to us when we created this resolution.
Who provided them?
I received them from Deanna, I believe. I'll find that email.
So we're getting from Deanna 5.5479
yes,
is
it's
current,
current.
and we want to go to 5.5534.
Here's the trend, highlighted numbers.
Okay. Prior
If
year.
you want to increase your millage, then you would have to provide more information. You're not stating that you're increasing it here, so the resolution still would not stand.
Prior year operating millage, 5.5479 per 1,000. The current rollback, 5.2507. Current year proposed, 5.5534.
It's just a 55-cent increase, which is a 55-cent increase per 1,000.
Per 1,000.
Which is a
Yes.
10% increase.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to, I'll turn it off. I'm going to amend my motion and I want to keep our millage at what it is, 5.5479.
Okay, are you gonna amend your second, Commissioner Green? Are you gonna amend your second?
I second.
Thank you. All right, so we have a amended motion to keep the current millage rate.
If I may, as we're going through this, if someone could calculate the percentage, I believe it's 0, but someone just make sure that that's true and accurate, that these numbers are true and accurate, because I'm going to put that in your resolution based on this motion.
Somebody sounds good.
I'm looking right at you.
If it's the same, it's 0.
Correct, I just want to make sure that we don't adopt 5.4 and then
Right,
we're actually down a number and we're saying the wrong numbers.
that's fine. All right, any commissioner discussion on
No, ma'am.
that motion? Public discussion on the revised motion?
So, Ms. Attorney, so someone is going to calculate your rollback, your percentage increase?
I just want to make sure that, so what's on the floor right now is that we stay exactly the same. And so it should be 0%.
No,
Correct.
no. You need to state what the percent increase or decrease from the current to the rollback. So what is the difference between that, is what you need to speak on.
Okay, so what I'm saying is someone needs to calculate that because you don't want me to do that.
The decrease from,
Like 0%.
yeah, we're staying the same.
Your rollback rate is according to this resolution, is 5.2507. That is your rollback rate. The statute states that you must provide citizens what the percentage increase over the rollback rate is. So it could be a negative, it could be a positive, but that's the rate that you need to put into your record.
Over the rollback rate.
The
Okay,
percentage.
I understand. So you better figure that out.
So, do you want me to tell you how to do it?
I know how to do it, thank you.
0.2, not 0.30.
You got it. So 30%, so let's see.
No, point. 0.30.
I don't like numbers.
I love them, but
0.30.
No,
That's not right either.
no.
5
I'm
point.
not a mathematician.
So you're gonna take, you have to take your,
Okay, 5.5479, right?
Yes.
oh my God, no. I don't know where you guys are getting the 5.4 because I'm going off of your resolution and your resolution says 5.5534.
No, it's these,
No,
it's,
it's 5
no,
point.
it's, no, we're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it the
Yeah, I
same.
changed it.
Right,
So it's-
so the
To keep it at
5.5479.
5.479.
We're gonna
Right,
keep
so
it
this-
there.
yeah,
Right,
so
yes,
it's
you
this
said
and
you
that
got to, do something with the road.
So you're
Okay.
gonna adopt a resolution in front of you that doesn't have the right numbers?
Well, she's gonna bring it back to us.
Yes.
Well, if I can clarify, it's very common for the numbers to change in these resolutions in the meeting. So essentially what would happen is I would just, whatever rates we adopt, I would put them into the resolution. That's what would be signed and submitted to the public. This is your budget hearing after all.
So you would take your 5.4, whatever number that is, divided by your 5.2507,
Right,
minus $1, and you times it by 100, and that's gonna give you your percent change.
additional comment.
If you run into
Our-
problems, I've got Karen's number.
All right, let's go to a vote.
Well, outside of my expertise.
All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Hold on.
Madam Mayor, there was no clarification on the motion with the numbers, so that's why I voted no. Until it's a resolution.
Okay, the motion was for it to stay the same, but okay.
I agree with that, but not this resolution without the correct numbers in it. That's why I voted no.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, can we ask the attorney to bring these back at the next meeting when we do our budget and make sure it's right?
So 30th.
I know
So-
we've already voted, but
Right, so the problem is that this is, you have a pretty strict timeline on your budget. So we have to adopt what we're adopting tonight, and then we'll have our second budget hearing on October or September 30th, I believe.
September 30th.
So we do need to know what we're voting on tonight. And what I can do is I can change what's written down here. This isn't set in stone. This is just what's been proposed to you by staff. We can change those numbers tonight. I can submit a resolution. I can publish it to the public that has the numbers that we vote on tonight. So you're not beholden to these numbers, but you do have to choose a set of numbers. So anywhere that you see a number in here, we have to put a number.
Gotcha.
And publicly announce what.
Okay.
Right. Well, then we need to calculate the rollback rate as well, or the percentage change, which I will also include so that the public is aware.
Okay.
But that is well outside of what you want me to be calculating.
I don't know.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry, I'm trying to transpose that current rate. All right, resolution number 2024-23.
Madam Mayor, this is a resolution of the City of Archer, Florida, providing for the approval of the proposed tentative budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025 for the City of Archer, Florida, setting a public hearing date, providing for publication of notice, providing for conflicts and severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Going to second it for discussion.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Hope and a second by Commissioner White.
So, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
First of all, I just heard Tony say if we did the rollback, if we maintain status quo, that this budget would be off. I asked Karen, I reached out to Karen because I know she's qualified and experienced to look at this budget and to help me with it. What did you base it on? On the millage.
The millage rate.
Well, first of all, if I may, Mayor, the dollar amount listed in your budget is just rounded 300,000. There's no math behind it. Your statute states that you must budget at least 95% of your millage, and that would not, of your assessed value, and that does not get you to 300. Your 300 is actually pretty aggressive. That would actually be 96%. And historically, for the last 2 years, it looks like you're coming in under budget. So your city manager provided you a budget that's saying that he expects to collect 96% of the ad valorem, which I do not agree with that. I think that's too aggressive. And yes, it's correct that if you go to the rollback rate or you reduce what you currently have in here from what I was calculating at the 5.5534, then you're going to have to reduce even more your revenues. I want you to know that the document in front of you that came from staff, those calculations have errors in your formulas. So what your numbers that you're looking at are not correct anyways. So you would have had to have done the math like I did on every single line item to get the correct numbers. But the ones you're looking at today are not right. They're not correct. I'm happy to provide you what they are, and I can provide you with a balanced budget, but I would need more than 3 minutes.
Madam Mayor, and I'm asking that we indulge her those 3 minutes because we need to get a balanced budget and turn it into the state, or whatever we have to do. And I believe there's a few citizens here that are willing to give up their time speaking to allow her that.
No, that's fine. Come on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do this out of my heart, not to be a jerk. If you can pass around that. Okay, so the papers that being passed around are two recommended changes to the budget. One for the general fund and one for the enterprise funds. I can't stress enough, though, before I go on to the budget, that rollback percentage needs to be stated tonight, because I just need to make sure that you guys understand that. Okay, so I already told you that you have issues with formulas in that spreadsheet, so don't go trying to do the math based on those totals. The current budget that was provided to you by your city manager actually has a deficit in the general fund by $5,758. The commission, by statute, cannot adopt a deficit in the general fund or any fund. It requires that all funds should balance, and the total of all funds should balance. And any line items that need to use reserves must be stated. And there's nowhere in your document that states a line that says, hey, let's transfer $5,000 from reserves. So you can't go by those numbers. You have to have a balanced budget. Your general fund revenues, the true number is $1,333,301, and the true expenditures, and I put all of your numbers into my own spreadsheet, and I've triple checked it. The expenditures, according to that document, are $1,139,059. So that's where you get the deficit of $5,758. And that formula error is across each year. So if you were to do this yourself and put in a spreadsheet, you'll find that formula error is across each year that you see in front of you. The grand totals on the expenditure is wrong as well. It's not $1,064,000. It is the $1,139,000. So you're actually missing almost $75,000 in expenditures. On the enterprise fund, so that was a general fund. Again, currently it's showing a deficit of the $5,000. On the enterprise fund, you're actually showing a surplus, according to the document in front of you, for $154,000 and change. Again, the enterprise currently in front of you has a surplus. And then if you combine both of them together, you're actually at a surplus of $149,000. But again, we cannot adopt negative deficit budgets. So on the revenues for the general fund, I talked about this. What was the final assessed value? So I talked to the property appraiser. It came in more at $56 million. Now these will be tweaked possibly again in when the next step during the trim process is done, but that is probably not going to change much at this point. And so if you do the 95%, that would be around $296,886 in revenues. Currently, you have $300,000 sitting in your budget. I don't even recommend to even mess with that at this point, but you do need to know that 96% of that $56 million is an aggressive number. Communication sales tax from the state projections came in at $50,658, yet your budget in front of you is showing $60,658. I assume this is probably a typo of $10 million or $10,000, but you're overstating that line item by $10,000. We need to get rid of that. That is very aggressive. Communication sales tax has been reducing year over year in that category, so we definitely don't want to overstate that by $10,000. You have a line in here from your staff for miscellaneous revenues in the amount of $24,000. Last time I stood up here, I asked that you can have some explanations as to what's in those line items. Again, if a presentation was provided to us, I wouldn't have to ask this question. But that is a very aggressive miscellaneous line for $24,000, and I don't know what's in that line. You have a line in this budget for $80,000 for selling of fixed assets, materials, and scrap metal. $80,000. You currently, in '24, don't have that, nothing, zero. In '23, you didn't have anything, it was zero. But this, we're gonna put in a huge plug at $80,000 with no explanation. You need a big red flag and say what is in that line item. That needs to go. So just those couple items, and there's more items, but just those.
I think
Where are you
the
talking?
Sale of surplus material and scraps is 65.
It's 65, not 80. Now, can
No,
you
you have
explain?
to add the two together.
Okay.
What two? Sale of fixed assets and sale of the other one? No, I'll explain the $65,000. I'm gonna sell the motor grader, and I've got other equipment over there that's gonna sell, and that's where the $65,000 is coming from, period.
So that, if I may, Mayor, so that machinery that he's referencing, is that the one that we purchased that doesn't work?
Yes, it's the one that does work, because we had it repaired.
Okay. So we had it repaired, but we're not going to use it to fix our own roads, and we're going to sell it.
No, because the grader is too big for our roads, except for about 3 of them, and it's not worth keeping. So we're gonna sell it. And I've got other equipment to buy.
And I would believe that's almost close to what we had paid for it. So I find that hard to believe when it's a used item sitting there.
No, I paid $45,000 for it.
And you're going to
Thank
sell
you
it for
very much.
65. Okay. Again, I think that's very aggressive in your budget, and I think it's a plug, and I don't see that coming to fruition. So I'm stating that the revenues are overstated here for the general fund. On the enterprise funds, your water revenue for FY24, you have hidden rows in your spreadsheet, so they're not visible, so your totals are incorrect. And we're in the 12th month of the year, and yet the actuals for the water billings and the solid waste are only coming in at 20% and 65% respectively. Why? I don't understand why the numbers aren't hit in your ledger. If you're receiving revenue from anywhere, they should be immediately hit in your revenue. I don't care if you're having issues with any kind of software. It is a simple entry that it hits the revenue line. There's no excuse for that. And even if your staff provided you with your projected actuals, those are not, they're not even projecting out that they're going to even collect close to budget. 20% on the 12th month of the year is not acceptable. Moving on to the expenses. FMIT. So I requested today the invoices and payments made to this for fiscal year 24 and found out that the total contract for FMIT is $98,375, and this includes workers' comp. Your staff, last time we met, stated that the commission still wanted to see these two line items in separate, so I questioned why we still had a workers' comp budget and actuals and this FMIT, and that was the answer I got. But I did verify that the actuals sitting in those two lines, your workers' comp actuals and your FMIT actuals, do actually to the penny equal what your contract amount is for FY24 on that $98,000 that I just mentioned. So that made me feel good. So we're keeping the two line items, paying the one bill, and we're spreading them over that. Maybe that you like to see what workers' comp is specifically. Okay, I'm good with that. However, then we have a budget in front of you that was presented, and we're going now down to $93,941 for FMIT and workers' comp. How can we go down? This is an increase in cost year over year. I don't see how you can decrease it. The health insurance actuals for 24 is $907 in the 12th month of the year. But in front of you, in your budget that was provided to you, they're asking for a budget of $71,394. Where are the actuals? In FY23, in the general fund, actuals under this line item were only $170 and $0 for the enterprise fund. So my question to you, who is on your health insurance? Are you providing it to everybody? And if you are, it is not showing up in your actuals. Nowhere for 2 years now that I can see. So I would really like an explanation on that, because you're asking for almost $72,000 on actuals of $170 and then $0 for the year prior. The payroll taxes are still calculated as a plug. This is a formula as mentioned last time. This should be almost exact. The city manager salary, why did we not split it anymore between the two funds? It historically has been budgeted between the water fund and the general fund half and half. The budget that was presented to you by your staff put all of that into the general fund. And on top of that, there was an increase, and I don't recall him getting an increase. I recommend that this should be still split, maybe not the 50-50. I think 75 general fund, 25 for enterprise fund would be enough. Your city manager receives in his contract a vehicle allowance. I believe it's like $5,400 a year. They added an additional $1,500 for in-town travel. You cannot pay both. You need to remove the $1,500. He does not get mileage reimbursement. The total budgeted salaries, all funds in front of you that was presented to you was $437,970. Yet I was provided a list of everyone's salaries, and that equals $540,000. So there's a difference of $102,000 that is not in your budget currently. Now, you can tell me that perhaps a position you're not going to hire, but it wasn't at that magnitude. There's no one that was paid besides the city manager in that kind of magnitude. So you're missing $102,000 in salaries. Staff stated that there are 2 FDOT contracts, one for $6,500 and one for $2,000. But yet they're only budgeting for the one, $6,500. What happened to the other contract for $2,000? There's a budget in here for $17,000 for a clock at the community center. $17,000 for a clock. Why would he even think about starting to have to deal with a maintenance for a clock? I think over exaggerated. I don't think that is necessary. I didn't even remember hearing citizens ask for a clock. I think they were asking for a sign. The solid waste contract. I am pretty sure I was told that this went up, that people are going to be paying more. Yet you don't see the increase in the expenditure side or the revenue side. The CM expenditure budget for the enterprise fund that was provided to you, so the enterprise fund I'm talking about, is almost $207,000 or 38.5% less than 24 actuals. Math doesn't add up. We're going almost 39% less in expenditures in your enterprise fund. It's 37% less than what you budgeted for fiscal year 24. How can we be going down? And I don't want to hear that it's just because we moved the city manager's salary all to the general fund. That's not what it is. Again, I think it's sloppy. So there's a lot more in there, but I don't want to go line by line. So the document that I provided you to wrap this up is my recommendations to get you to a balanced budget. I think overall, if you were just in one fund and you added everything up, I don't think the numbers were going to be that off. But you can't do that. You need to separate your general fund and your enterprise funds. So on the revenue side for the general fund, you need to reduce that communication sales tax by $10,000. And again, this is that document I provided you. You need to reduce miscellaneous revenues in the amount of $15,000 and reduce your sales of fixed assets in surplus for $60,000. And if that really does come to, that he's able to sell that, that's wonderful. That's extra money in your pocket at this point. But to budget such an aggressive number and not be secure on that number, I don't think is what the city commission wants to do. So it's a total reduction in the general fund revenue by $85,000. On the expenditure side, that $70-some thousand in health insurance with a few $100s in actuals does not sit right with me. It only can tell me that it's either hitting another line or we don't do it. So I recommend that you reduce the health insurance in the general fund by $44,000. You put the city manager's position 75% in the general fund and move 25% over to your enterprise fund. So that's a reduction of $45,000 in the general fund expenditures. You need to get rid of that in-town travel for the city manager, $1,500. Your payroll tax is completely overstated in this document. You need to reduce it by at least $25,000. That clock for the community center, I recommend going less and reducing it by $10,000. And you need to increase that FDOT contract by $2,000. So total expenditure decrease in the general fund of $123,570. So if I take those two adjustments, the revenues minus expenditures now provides you with a surplus of $32,812. And as you note, I didn't say to adjust the millage rate or anything. I kept it at that $300,000 that you already have in here. So those are the only adjustments. I could find a lot more, but it wasn't necessary to get you to a balanced budget where the numbers line up better to your last audited financial, which was 2022 was your last audit. So moving on to the next page, which is your enterprise funds. I'm not recommending any changes to your revenues. They were pretty close to what I had projected a few weeks ago, but on the expenditure side, you still have that health insurance. That number needs to be reduced by $15,000 unless you can tell me where that is going, when that's going to hit. Because I would hate for you not to budget for something like that, but I don't see where it's hitting at all. You need to increase your retirement because that's not stated correctly based on actuals, and by $15,000. And you need to put the 25% of the city manager, so that's an increase of $45,000. And you need to add that missing $100,000 in your salary. I do not believe, first of all, you have no overtime. You're probably going to still have overtime coming in 2025. And I don't see that you're cutting that many positions based on the list that was provided to me earlier on, about a month ago. That doesn't make sense. So if you take your revenues that you see in front of you already, that the manager provided you, the 484, and minus the expenditures, which include my reduction here, or the increase actually in $145,000, it now gets you to the enterprise fund at a surplus of $9,791, which I personally feel, in my experience, those two numbers with those adjustments, I can probably sleep with. Now, I don't have the ins and outs of every single line item, but you still have fluff, and a lot of fluff from what I see in your budget, without having to increase your millage. Now, the adjustment that you did make with your motion to adopt the millage, I would have to do the math on that because I still don't know what number you're planning on using.
We didn't adopt it tonight. You mean tonight?
The first resolution that you read, that you adopted, that we're waiting to hear what that percent change is, that number, whatever you did, that would have to be adjusted, but I feel pretty comfortable with the $32,000 surplus. We would have wiggle room, but we would have to change that budgeted amount on that line because your budget gets submitted to the state and you want these numbers to be accurate. And you need to prove that you're budgeting at least 95% based on what the assessed value at the correct millage rate. You can't just put fluff in there. You can't just make up those numbers. So we would have to adjust that line item in the budget that you are actually going to move forward with.
So, a few things. One, the clock was something that we added, I think, like July or August, and it was either last year or the year before we were looking to get a clock for the city. And I do agree that we can, well, I don't think we can get one for 10,000 because I think.
Actually, if that was, the explanation was wrong. It was actually the sign that Commissioner Hope was asking for
Okay.
the senior center.
Okay.
I mean, the community center.
Okay. But, I mean, to put that on hold is fine, because I think the least expensive one was like 17 to 20,000. So we can put that one on hold definitely. The manager did receive an increase, however, he said he would not take the increase, so that's the second thing. The third thing is that we lost the public works worker, so that is also gonna be
I would hope that you would want to
reflected.
fill that position, especially when you're in a situation where financially you can still pay for that position, and then that will reduce your overtime that you have every month, would be my opinion.
I don't know.
Well, thank you for your advice, but right now I'm not going to fill that position. I've already talked with Calvin, and I've already talked with John, and we're not going to fill it right this moment. We may later on, but not at this moment.
So when you have vacancies like that, you can apply a vacancy factor. So if you think you're going to maybe keep it vacant for 3 months, well, then chop off a percentage of that total salary dollar. And then, but to take it out of your budget, you do two things. Either you're cutting it, so now your FTE count is lower. So then when you want to go and hire that, you have to come and ask for an FTE plus the budget, which means that you're going to have to do a budget amendment, which is a lot messier than keeping it vacant, keeping your FTE so that you're capable as a city manager to fill it when necessary without having to run back to your commission to get all the approval. And then you're not scrambling trying to find money at the end of the year for that.
And the biggest drop in the water salaries was because I removed Calvin out of there and put him in the general fund.
Oh, that was the other thing. So from my understanding, your salary is out of the two funds, right? Or
Mine was out of two funds, Deanna's was out of two funds, Cindy's was out of two funds, Tangi's was out of two funds, and Calvin's was out of two funds. That's why the enterprise fund was always being robbed. I mean, you couldn't keep up with the enterprise fund. We took mine out of the enterprise fund and put it in the general fund. We took Calvin's out of the enterprise fund and put it in the general fund. So those were the two biggest salaries out of the enterprise fund. We took both of them out and put them in the general fund.
That resulted in a deficit for your general fund, which again, as I mentioned, you can't have a deficit. But if you add up all the salaries, I don't care which fund it is, what was proposed to you for budgeted salaries is $102,000 less than what you currently have FTEs and salaries dedicated to people. Now, granted, you have a vacancy, I understand that, but you can't budget $102,000 less than what you plan on paying out. I don't care which fund you're talking about at this point.
All right, commissioners, y'all have anything else? Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Ford.
Just for the commission's knowledge before we get into our discussion, you have a couple of choices, just so that you're aware of where we stand. You can adopt the budget as it's stated. You can adopt the budget with some changes. If you make those changes, you'll need to be relatively specific with what you'd like to change. You can adopt Ms. Fiore's, all, some of her recommendations, all, some of Tony's recommendations for any changes that he may propose. But if you change something, you do need to be relatively specific so that we can come back with those changes to the budget.
Okay. Commissioner Green? I saw your mic on.
No,
You changed your mind?
I changed my, but I kind of shook my head when they said when city manager said we're not gonna try to fill that position.
Right now.
Not right at this moment.
So how long are we talking?
We're probably talking 3 or 4 months.
I don't know if we
We're
can
out
do
of,
that.
we're out of the growing season. We're going into the slow
You
season.
got a lot of overgrowth right now, even on city properties. And I don't know how we can get along that long without hiring someone else. You know, a lot of, because we're actually giving letters to other people, but the cities have a lot of properties that are overgrown.
I don't mean to overstate my welcome, but I have to state that I believe that you would be required to make the changes to your budget to reflect the correct numbers today before you adopt this resolution.
Yeah,
So, and if one of the motions was possibility that you adopt what was provided to you, and again, you can't adopt that because those numbers do not add up and there's a deficit. So you can't do that motion legally.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going back on the hiring somebody, and we do need to hire somebody, but we have the position available. It needs to be filled. My question, though, is, we've taken Calvin. Okay, I'm okay with taking the city manager, Deanna, Cindy, whomever, off of water. But why would you take the public works director out so that we don't know what our water's paying for? Our enterprise fund should have what the public works director
Okay.
and anybody, John, that has the water license, it should have, it should have public works.
So you want to add those two back?
I do.
Okay.
I do, but mainly because I think we need it to see if our water fund is not paying for our help, then we need to do something different.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
makes sense to me.
But am I sitting here wasting my time and your time and their time tonight going over this when it's all gonna have to be redone because we changed the millage?
Correct.
So,
Correct, and I think that's why Kirsten was saying we need to be specific with whatever changes we want to make.
Mr. Hammond, did I hear you say that the enterprise fund usually is an imbalance and it has to be pulled from the general fund or vice versa each year?
It usually ran in the negative because of the salaries.
So you've
took
made
the-
adjustments in the
We
salaries.
took the two highest paid employees out of it. Didn't take the Deanna, we didn't take Tangi, we didn't take the Cindy's out. We took the two highest paid employees out of it.
And that's the water and garbage enterprise fund.
Correct.
So if we just took you out and left Calvin,
We already took me out.
right, now that's what I'm
That
saying,
didn't
we
have
put,
enough, that did not have enough impact.
But if you took you, Deanna, and Tangi, and put Calvin in, it should be somewhat. I know,
Except Tangi is all enterprise fund with her job.
Her utility billing.
okay,
So I can only take Deanna and Cindy out
and you,
and me out. And I don't know that Cindy and Deanna, I'd have to go back and look at the figures of whether theirs would equal up to what Calvin's would.
well, it would be close anyway, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be to the penny, but I just feel like we won't be getting a true assessment of our water fund if we don't have the Public Works Director
in there,
in there.
all right.
Mr., Madam Mayor, ask another question. Mr. Hammond, how did, in this preparation of this document that we have a motion and a second on, how did you address your contractual agreement ending in May of next year for 5 months of the budget year?
Actually, I didn't.
You left it the same?
Yeah.
You didn't make any reduction in a
No.
replacement?
No.
Okay.
So, right now, are we all in favor of, bringing, I guess it was bringing Cindy and Deanna, over and putting Calvin back on the water fund? Were we all in favor of that? Is that what we were just saying when I went to close that door? So that it makes the budget a little more even? Hello? Maybe Commissioner White was the only one talking, I don't know. Did anybody understand what
Okay,
she was saying?
for point of order, Madam Mayor, we're discussing all kind of changes. We have citizen input, that's 2 pages of documentary changes by line items. I'll rescind my motion at this point so that we can continue this discussion.
Can you give me a second? Let me walk in and get a spreadsheet.
So my
It's a moot
question,
point to have a motion
Yeah.
when there's all this diatribe discussion of balanced budgets.
so my question is, what was Commissioner White's suggestion about the, funds, the enterprise funds?
And Madam Mayor, all I'm saying is every decision that we're making, including Ms. Fiore's input, is making changes to a document for us.
Correct.
So my point is, how are we going to sit up here and cherry pick all these line items if, I'm just asking the question. I'm not
Okay.
judging, I'm not throwing rocks.
So, Commissioner White, I was asking, what did you say while I was going to pull that door to? Were you saying to change Deanna and Cindy?
While you were
over
gone,
and
I
to
rescinded my
leave
motion, so, and you were the second, because we're making all kind of decisions to change something that's
Actually,
been,
we-
had a motion on it, for a point of order.
Okay.
May I?
Calvin? Hold on, was that what you were saying?
Yes,
Did-
remove
Thank-
Cindy and Deanna. And put Calvin back in.
Okay,
All right.
go ahead.
If I may. Let's see.
I don't know if it'll make that much difference.
My back hurt. I got something in the car. Not Tylenol, it's like Excedrin. You want one? It's outside. I'll go get it.
Madam Attorney, oh, she's not here.
She stepped out. She did that fast. I didn't even know she was gone. You should be on. Okay.
You're good. Did you say that we could make the changes tonight?
Yes.
We could not adopt the budget tonight.
So where you are, just sort of a 1,000-foot view, is you're in your first budget hearing, which means you have a proposed budget in front of you. If it meets all of the qualifications, and Ms. Fiore, to your point, what I mean is if everything meets all the qualifications, I'm not qualified to tell you whether or not it's a balanced budget. I couldn't tell you that. What I can tell you, if it is a balanced budget, you could adopt it in your first hearing tonight. You would then adopt it sort of like an ordinance
Right.
at your second budget hearing on the 30th. If you make changes tonight, which you can do, you can say we'd like Deanna's position to be moved, we'd like Tony's position to be moved, and we would like X, Y, and Z expenses pointed out by Ms. Fiore to be changed. At that point, that is what you would tentatively adopt tonight. Then at your second budget hearing on the 30th would be your final adoption of that budget with those changes.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So first of all, we're gonna have to change our revenue to meet the new millage rate.
Yes, that will be already sort of baked in because of the previous resolution that you've passed.
Okay.
That will be a change to your budget.
Changing those salaries will have, if we move Deanna and Cindy out of the enterprise fund and move Calvin back, it will have a bigger impact moving those two out, moving Calvin back.
Bigger impact, positive or negative?
Those two going out will reduce it more,
Okay.
bring Calvin in. It'll take 60 out and bring Calvin in, it'll bring 30 back.
Okay.
So change it by about 30,000. All right, give or take a little.
All right, so that was one suggestion.
Then tell me, where is the park attendant? Where is his income? Where does it come from?
He is under streets.
Okay.
Which is general fund.
I got it.
So, Tony, in the projected, salaries for this one, since we were talking about it, is Carlton's still, added in this projection?
No, ma'am, I took him out.
So you took it out.
I will go back and put him in. It's gonna have some kind of an impact in there somewhere.
Well, whether you hire somebody tomorrow or you wait 3 months, it needs to be in the budget. I mean, there needs to be a place for
For it.
somebody to be there. I have a question on IT. I'm sorry, Deanna. Oh,
Me too,
no.
because I didn't notice.
Page 2 of 4 in the expenses. And it's the IT normal plus upgrade at the community center, $70,000. What upgrades are we doing to the community center?
Hey, what was that line there? I'm
It's,
sorry.
to move.
The equipment over there that they can,
519320,
What page again? I'm sorry.
204.
204. And then what's the number again?
It's the other governmental, other general government service, and it's the IT. Let me give you the number.
Yes, please.
Okay, 519-320.
Okay.
And it's 70,000, then it's got Edmonds 20,000. That's their annual contract, I understand that.
Right.
But I'm not understanding 70,000 for upgrades to the community center. Unless it's for the sheriff's substation, and if it is warranted.
No, that is to convert the community center over to what is in here so that we don't have to pay switching
go
back and forth every time we want to do a meeting over there. And I was asked to put that in there.
And how much did we pay to do it last week?
$2,500, I believe.
So we'd have to use it an awful lot to get to $70,000. An awful lot.
We would, and I think that was what we were talking about, because I thought it was like $2,000 every time we use it, but how often do we do meetings over there?
We
And
don't. I mean,
yeah,
that
and I
was
was
an
gonna say it's
exception that we
usually
have.
once or twice a year, right?
Well, we
Maybe?
meet with Alachua County or our town
Yeah,
hall.
'cause that-
But, town hall doesn't have
Well,
to be.
we did ask him to look to see how much it was gonna be. I think it was a motion. And I think we all did agree, but I do agree that that is a lot
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, I would drop that.
You want it out?
Yeah,
I would.
I do.
I'm looking though over at, 22, the actual, for that same one is $77,709.03. So what was it?
Where you at now?
I'm on the same one,
Okay,
but you go all the way over to the year 22,
okay,
the actual.
yeah.
I mean, I'm just,
Yeah.
none of these numbers
That
look,
was probably here and the security system department.
well, it says community center. And that's what's
No,
throwing me
it
off,
doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
Tony. And, I mean, I don't see us with IT services of either one of these amounts going across through there.
And I don't either, but those numbers I pulled out of Edmonds.
Yeah, they're not, I mean, something's not right with that. Okay. And, we do have the 20,000 annual contract with Edmonds.
What I did with this spreadsheet, those numbers on 22, 23, I went in and pulled out of Edmonds myself and put them into this spreadsheet.
Okay.
I don't know where they came from.
I don't either, because some of them is confusing.
I don't either, but I had to have something to work with, and that's all I could get.
Now, I do have another question. There is nowhere in here that we're putting back anything for wastewater. And we've got that coming up, and we know that, as a matter of fact, I was told we had to have, we had an account that had to have $125,000 in it at all times.
Well, that 70,000 could go there.
I thought we had the money in there for the wastewater.
That's what I said, it's got to have, she said it had to have 125,000 in it at all times. And,
That's a cash account. This is a budget, so you don't have budget for that. And from the last meeting, she mentioned that there was a separate account that you guys have, that cash is sitting in.
right, but I'm just asking, do we have anywhere where we put money aside for our wastewater, our future wastewater?
We can put that
Because-
70.
I mean, I don't know if we've got anything going out between us and Newberry or not.
What we build up in enterprise fund would go to it eventually.
Your fee collection services is your revenue fund for that.
I'm sorry?
Your wastewater account revenue will build that account. just like our current waterfront.
Okay.
I'm also going down to Holiday Lights, purchase new lights. I'm not, the shape we're in, I'm not for purchasing new lights. I mean, that's up to y'all, but I'm not.
I'm good. I think our lights are good. I think. Good enough.
We gotta cut back. I mean, a lot. I'm talking a lot. And,
And do we budget, but I didn't see anything in there for the new community center either.
no,
No, because that's the grant fund.
I know, but I thought we were gonna budget something towards that too. I know we have to do, but
For maintenance.
yeah, but maintenance of the.
the other thing is that we need to cut out this year is the red, white, and blue. That was, and as much as I appreciate it, it's, where's it at? You've got $15,000, but we know it went way over $15,000. So that needs to be cut.
Okay, but then we got 10,000 from the county.
Yeah, but look, and we got
And I feel
some-
like we got 7 from, I can't remember.
We got different
$7,000.
donations,
Right.
And the vendors.
but
We got vendor donations, we got 7,800 from
That's what-
donations, and we got 10,000 from the county.
Yeah.
and what did they cost? What did the, only
Event cost.
the,
The fireworks cost us $16,000.
all right,
So it paid for that.
16th, yeah, paid for that. We had a bull riding thing, we had a couple of rides, we had, a couple of games.
The bull riding was, his was done by his ticket sales. We didn't pay for that.
Okay,
The only other thing that we did, that we
Was the
paid for,
DJ.
was $900 for the 2 slides and the dunk tank.
Okay.
That was it.
and then we had our overtime with our employees. A lot,
Correct.
a lot of overtime.
Is that
2
some-
days' work.
Is that something we can look into also with the overtime? Can we,
That needs to
yeah, I mean, because there is something that is called comp time. Oh, can't do that?
No, but Commissioner Hope has harped on flex time for a few years. And
Okay,
that could be done. But our overtime kills us because, yeah.
okay.
And I know that 4th of July, we put out some overtime in 2 days' time with Public Works. And I'm not sure who else got it, but I do know that Public Works got it.
Public Works is the only one that gets it. The girls that go down don't get it.
Well, they just went to participate just like we did. They didn't go to work.
They
However-
collected tickets and they might not have worked as hard.
I
They
do
might have
think-
not worked as
They do,
hard, but they were
don't-
there.
They don't file for it.
Oh, okay.
However, my thing is, that is $20,000 that we could put in reserve for something that we need. And that's just me.
It is, if it was all coming from us, but I think if it's donations for that, then we're not, I mean, we can't budget that money for it because it was donations that were for that particular thing. So I know the $10,000 from the county is for events. The 7,800, whatever number it was, he said, I do not remember where that came from, but yeah.
It came from Duke Energy, it came from Cox Cable, it came from
Okay.
the guy that did our swing sets. It came from Archer Automotive, it came from the guy that runs the little the Phillips station up
Okay.
here.
Okay.
You know, several
So
local
several
vendors,
of them.
people around here. And what just clicked in my head is those donations And the $10,000 from the county is
Right.
not even in here as revenue. I forgot to put it in here. So that's $17,000 that I've got to add into the revenue side.
So,
If we do.
but this is, city events and donations. It's not just red, white, and blue,
Right.
it's other events. So my thing is, where are we gonna cut?
We could cut even, I'm not saying don't, because we can, but that goes back to what I've been trying to do for years, get organizations
Right.
to do the events, and we participate and help out. So I don't have a problem with cutting back. I was just saying, if those were donations that the people were earmarking for that particular thing, we can't really say, well, we're gonna cut that out of the budget because it wasn't in the budget. That's all I'm saying.
I
So
understand.
yes, we could do that. We could,
I would rather do away with 4th of July, that big 15,000 or 20,000, whatever it costs us, and donate 2,000 more to the Christmas thing.
okay.
We donate to the Christmas, we donate $1,000 to our JCC, $1,000 to Christmas, and what else? Well, no, I'm not asking for that this year. It's gonna be done, by volunteers.
I wish there was a way that we could keep the red, white, and blue, not, if it's costing us too much, I understand at this point, but in the future, because that is a big day for Archer.
It is.
And we don't have much in Archer, but that's one of those big events that, the kids and families look forward to. I don't know what we can do as far as trying to help defray some of those costs.
I think
To
what.
try to get more donations and so
Right.
forth, but I
Or
think
we
it's
can
a
donate in
wonderful
other
day.
places.
Right, so I agree that if we can get those donations and almost $20,000 from donations for an event is a good thing. But how do we do it without us spending money?
Exactly.
That is the
We don't
question.
have it. I mean, right now, we don't have it.
Another suggestion, and I know you all said we couldn't do it, well, Tony said because it doesn't have a fence around it, but I think every park should have the same rules. As far as Maddox Park versus Wilson Robinson Park, if anybody rent that park, I'm saying if anybody want that whole park or whatever, they have to pay. Whether it's a fence around it or not, I think that if anybody's gonna reserve, like the Maddox Park, that's still revenue we can get. Because if you're gonna reserve it, that means that nobody else can use it that day. So I think that's another, whether it has a fence around it or not.
So I think with the parks, they can reserve the pavilion. And I think we do have a little clause on there for the ball fields or whatever, but normally, public parks are public, and you usually can't, tell other people they can't.
Okay, but you can't reserve but I thought like the Wilson Robinson Park, they actually have to reserve the park if you want it for a special event.
Pavilion.
But not the park. Okay, so we're still,
Right.
okay, so we still reserve that pavilion? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hate to be a buddy-dud or whatever you want to call it, but I'm gonna be there. Excuse me. I'm supposed to take a blood test right now, but that's beside the point. We don't make any money on the community center or the parks. I know why you do it, and I understand why you do it, and I applaud why you do it. But you waive too many fees for too many people. We lose money on the community center, Maddox Park, and Wilson Robinson Park because you're always waiving fees for everybody.
Okay, and we do, but normally we waive them if it's a nonprofit organization or it's one of our organizations that's doing a community event.
But they still cost us money. We still pay the electricity, we still pay, everything is still costing us money.
I
It's not
understand.
free to us.
So we may have to do just a reduced fee or something? I know anytime that I used to, I didn't find out that you could actually get the center for free till I got up on the dais. And I know, anytime I used to rent it for, or my church would rent it, we always had to pay for the community center. Never knew that you could get it for free by just using the word donation. So.
I don't remember us
never knew
waiving
that.
fees at the community center very much.
We haven't, not,
but not
mostly the
community
park,
center.
but not, yeah.
Well, we did.
She
That's why
said very much.
Oh, okay. That's why,
yeah,
we
have allowed it very
with
much.
putting a cap
than not.
on the amount. Yeah, we did.
Madam Mayor, I'm changing the subject, but since we're just doing details of changes, based on Ms. Karen Fiore's 2 recommendations of reducing health insurance in both the enterprise and general fund, that's almost $60,000. Could we find out what that specifically is? To take action on that, if we were to do that, who is getting help, as she stated, and I'm stating the same thing. I thought no staff elected to have health insurance. Is that true or not true? With an
That's not true
All
right
staff
here.
gets health insurance.
okay, so
This year I made a change in it, and I'm making them pay 25% of the health insurance. Yeah, everybody but her and me. We're the only 2 that don't get it.
and that's an expense the city incurs, correct? And so, again, my question is, if Ms. Fiore's recommendation is to reduce it by 60,000, what does that impact? What is she seeing based on last year and an increase in this budget this year? Is it going to increase $60,000 between the 2 funds? I'm not trying to push you against the wall, but I'm just saying, Ms. Fiore, I think is comparing to last year to this year. Is that where you got those 2 numbers that is in your document?
Your actuals from '23 was $100 and some, and your '24 actuals is $900, I believe, dollars.
And I
But
can't,
you've put in your document, Ms. Fiore, reduce health insurance by $15,000 in enterprise and the general fund by $44,000. That's not $900,000.
No, because your budget that you have currently from the manager for health insurance in the general fund,
Is an inflated number.
and the enterprise fund. So I'm recommending not knowing who's in that insurance, because your actuals don't reflect that anyone's in those insurances, to reduce it, and I'm still giving you fluff on that. And while I'm standing here, I provided you with a balanced budget for both of your funds. You as a board can simply state that we adopt the changes outlined in this document with the correct totals, and tell your city manager to come back to you with the correct millage rate revenue, the correct revenue for your ad valorem based on the resolution you just adopted, and you would be done. And you still have fluff in your budget. And you're still not addressing, even if you move a position from one fund to the other, you're still shorting yourself $102,000, which I've included in this document, and leaving you with a lot of fluff still. So you would have only really 2 actions. Advise the city manager to provide you with the correct ad valorem number so that you do the correct thing on your budget, and then figure out that percent rollback rate, and then you have 2 balanced budgets. And if that number, once he does that calculation, turns into a deficit, which I don't think you're gonna lose $32,000, I don't think it's gonna cut into that full amount of that surplus, you would just state to him, when you come back, if it is a deficit, that you need to make an adjustment on another line item so that you have a balanced budget, and you would be done.
I think on the insurance, I think Cindy split it up last year. I don't know how she did it. This year, insurance is under insurance. And I have the document from Blue Cross Blue Shield on what each person has for their insurance per year.
And that insurance total is by the person that falls into that category.
Per age limit. And based on their age limit, they have a total amount that's due each month. You take that
Based on
divided by
the swap.
12, and that's what you pay on them.
And based on swapping around the positions and where they fall, general fund or enterprise fund.
Correct. And then I took that whole total, at each person, then took 25% back and put it back into the system.
Your document doesn't have an insurance line besides FMIT, which I was really hoping that your insurance was in that, your health insurance, because they offer it. But after I requested your backup for FMIT, I discovered that health insurance is not in there. So if your comment is correct, your insurance line, which is right under retirement in your payroll salary section, that is where your health insurance should be.
And that's where it is.
You have, so you're saying that, based on that comment, that for 23, you spent $100 and some thousand, or $103, and for 170, I'm sorry, and for 24, on the 12th month of this year, we're almost done the fiscal year, you have $907 of actuals. So that's all it costs the city to insure all the employees except 2, is what you're saying.
No. What I said was that Cindy put the last year's, the current year that we're in different categories. This year, I've got it in one category, one line item. I don't know where she's got it at in 23, 24. In 24, 25, it is in one line item.
You have insurance under salary section budgeted for $72,000 for fiscal year 2025. Your 2024 actuals are $907. So there's, so that means that these numbers that you have provided could possibly be short actuals just in that one line item for $71,000 is missing from your actuals, just in that one line item, which I don't see how that's possible, because if you're paying a monthly bill, it has to hit a ledger, and so it has to hit there. No one is just stroking checks and signing them, and they don't have to go through the system. You have to put each thing through the system, and to do that, your system's set up. It has to be that it hits an account line. So either it's hitting just your salary line, which I doubt that, because
That's my concern, is I think that health is falling in salary somewhere, instead of being a separate line item of health, because that's a big hit expense. And it-
But then your salary line is not correct then
Correct.
in actuals. So that means that you didn't pay your employees on a full staff if that's the case. Because I know you have overtime in that salary line item, which should have been broken out separately anyways. But that makes it even worse, which I don't even want to get into there.
Sorry.
Because that would mean that you're missing a couple $100,000 worth of actuals that your city has not provided you, and so that's very scary. I would still recommend as a citizen that you adopt the changes that I provided you with the change, like I mentioned earlier, with the millage. Because I did provide you with the balanced budget, and all of this calculation on the side that you're doing now, you're not gonna get a balanced budget, and you're gonna end up doing something wrong. And again, you still have fluff in here.
Madam Mayor, did I hear a consensus or not a consensus to remove the red, white, and boom, which is a large expense? I heard discussion, but no decision. What is the decision with that big expense? My big detail is the health, breaking it out of their salaries, because I think that's where it's hidden in there.
So
hidden,
I
it's just mixed in there.
I think we all agree that it is one of the bigger things. We don't want to, if it's gonna cost the city, that we didn't want that expense. How do we do it without the city having to pay anything? We know we did get a lot of donations for it, which leads me to believe that the upcoming year, we'll probably get donations for it, but will all of the donations pay for it in total, or will we have to?
I understand,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to
So
do
I don't-
you, I'm just, we had a lot of discussion, but we're not doing what the legal counsel's recommendation was, is to detail the changes so that we can
Yes.
then be presented on the 30th. And
So we did not say
okay,
to take it off. We said that it is a big expense. We were trying to figure out how much we actually paid so that we know how to move. But then Commissioner White said that the events, period, were a lot. And so I agree that we can take those off. Or
what events though? Which ones?
when we donate, like we donate to Christmas, used to be, yeah.
We donate to a couple of them that come before us anytime.
So you're saying we should stop those?
No, that's what, those two I'm not willing to, now.
Okay, so back to my
Not
question.
Christmas and not the,
She's saying to take that total down. I think, was it 20,000? What was it? What
I
was it?
said we take it down to about at least 3 to 5, but I think it could go down more. But I don't think,
So we keep in the red, white, and boom, that's my question. Yes or no? Because that's a big expense on here. We need to give direction to Tony to proceed with the details.
I'm saying.
I've questioned $60,000 in health. Where is that? Is it hidden in the salaries? Please break that out.
Okay.
That's number one, and just because it's $60,000. I'm ready to say enter all of Ms. Fiore's suggestions, but then get the correct number also for the millage rate decision that we made tonight.
I have that.
We have that one.
I do.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you were scribing all of the detail changes. Do you have the red, white, and boom decision?
Red, white, and boom, just calculating what we spent. Calculating what we spent and what we collected in grant and donations, I think we about broke even.
It was a break-
With the
break even.
exception of the overtime.
Okay, so that's what I'm throwing on the table for a decision. Are we going to accept the overtime and continue with it, or is he to take that out and not count the donations towards it?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
and I'm willing to second your motion if you make it, to do that. However, it's not in Karen's. We can accept Karen's recommendations for a balanced budget with the rollback, whatever it is, and move forward. And
We're removing the clock.
we're removing the clock.
Does that leave the sign and the expense for the sign for the Archer Community Center?
$10,000.
Huh?
$10,000.
That's not enough for that sign, is it?
However, does it have to be
The
that
sign is
sign?
$16,800.
And my thing is, does it have to be that sign? Can it be just
It can
A
for
sign.
now. It can for
You
now.
wanted an electronic
Yes.
sign, and that's the same people that put the electronic sign out by the water tower, and that's the cheapest one we can get.
So you can put what you need from the clock into that, keep it, and see how close to having flush.
So what Commissioner White is saying is that at this time, we don't have to have an electronic sign. We can just have a sign
like the welcome to Archer signs or whatever, but
that's for the community center,
that are
yeah.
cohesive with that. But I'm not willing to put that kind of money out right now as bad a shape as we're in.
So you're removing the clock. You're removing the sign expense.
Not all of it,
Decreasing the sign expense.
decreasing it.
Do you have that? Decreasing the sign expense to what? Pick a number.
Tim, well, how much did our welcome to Archer
I
signs
think it was like
cost?
500, a little more or something like that.
So you talking about the sign for the community
How much?
center?
Yeah, for the
what we're
community
discussing.
center, just to put one up, how much?
Those welcome to Archer signs are close to $2,000. They're close to $2,000.
But not that
And
big,
that's
but it's,
a big deal from 16,000, so I'm saying put 5,000 into it and be done.
Where's the sign one at? Isn't it on the first page? There's the clock one. So you want the clock one gone. Okay.
And the sign
now.
put in 5,000.
instead of, what was it, 10 or
Where's the
I think
sign?
it's 17.
Okay, that was the clock though, wasn't it? We're gonna change the clock to sign and put
Well,
5,000.
you're the one that said that it wasn't the
Yeah.
clock, it was the sign.
So we want to sign and put 5,000 to the 15.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Removing all holiday lights of $5,000.
Got that done.
That one.
Are we adding in,
Got that removed.
Upgrades.
are we adding in any maintenance for the new community center? I hope we're not letting that grant expire.
If we start moving stuff, we'll find room to give it.
Okay.
Now, but I do have a question on, uniforms. What do we purchase in the way of uniforms for the guys?
Working dungarees and t-shirts.
Dungarees and t-shirts.
That's it. And, well, they get boots once a year.
So my thing is,
I thought, I'm
Why don't
sorry,
we-
yeah.
why don't we pay for the shirts? They buy their pants, if they want jeans, if they want cotton, if they want whatever.
Yeah,
But
I
they
thought,
buy their jeans.
yeah, I thought we voted on that
I thought we did too.
the other year, because I was saying with our uniforms, I didn't understand why we was paying so much.
And that will,
I thought that we had came to the conclusion or said that we was only paying for the t-shirts.
I
And,
think we kept the uniform.
no, I thought we said we was only doing the t-shirts.
but a pair of
And they
jeans
could
is
bring
not a uniform.
their own pants or their own khaki.
We did not, but we can.
I think we should. I mean, I don't know how many cities supply jeans and boots for their employees.
Definitely boots
No,
once
most
a
of them
year.
supply uniforms.
Right.
Well-
Yeah, because they usually, like the other municipality, they actually
most of
have a
them rent
whole
uniforms.
Yeah, we tried that, and it didn't work.
Yeah. But I'm good with t-shirts and the boots once a year.
Yeah. We give them 5 t-shirts a year and
A pair of boots.
yeah. And if they need more, they can buy it. I had a question on something else.
So what was the change in the uniforms? 5
T-shirts,
shirts a year.
5 t-shirts
A year.
and a pair
A
of boots.
year.
A year. And boots once a
If they
year.
need more, they can, well, I don't even have a problem with twice a year, 5 t-shirts. I mean, what do you think they should get?
Go,
Their-
Mr. Holt,
Their
what you
shirts,
think?
their shirts do go through a lot of,
I understand.
yes.
What do you want your public works image to be in the community? Is my question back to you all with 5 shirts a year, with what they do.
What's the amount of the
She-
shirt?
I don't think she's so set on only 5 shirts. So that was the question. What is your suggestion? What do you suggest? Because she said, doesn't have to be just once a year for the 5 shirts. So what are you thinking?
However y'all want to do it, but I'm not good with purchasing jeans and,
Well,
and boots.
That was what we started with, but then we
Right.
got down to just 5 shirts a year.
So what is your number?
I said 5 shirts for employees.
Right, it's no big deal. What's
And
your
that's not
number?
laundering, that's the purchase of those shirts that they wear, correct?
right.
And replacement from wear and tear. So put that in as you know from historical, without the jeans.
So 5 shirts, a pair of boots, and replacement of shirts as needed. Or,
Well,
but
I
then
do it
that,
twice a year.
that,
I mean,
You can take an inventory, Tony, of how many shirts have they gone through, minus the jean expense, and come up with the numbers.
how many shirts they normally go through?
Gosh, in my
Tony, do
day
you
job
know?
right now, I'm going through 20 in a year with what I do. I mean, tattered, holes,
On an
torn
average,
replacement.
They will probably go through,
I ain't seen none of them in tattered shirts.
I have.
He said he is.
I ain't.
Seen them with the pits hanging out, yeah, with holes
they'll
in them.
probably go through 20 a year.
Thank you.
I mean, you know, because you gotta remember, they're down digging holes and especially when they're down digging holes and stuff like that.
You're telling me, Tony, they've gone through 20 shirts a year,
I didn't
5
say all.
employees.
I'm just saying
Okay,
allotment
but I'm
of that
going on.
expense, and then
Then
put it in.
then there's
and-
no point in doing anything with this 3,000, because it's a whole lot cheaper than what we're paying right now, if that's the case.
And you're removing the jean expense.
Well,
So,
no, because it's not in here apparently. So leave it alone. I'm good.
it's not in the uniform
I
expense.
agree, because it shouldn't have been that hard, but,
Yeah.
whatever.
Leave it alone. I ain't got the same kind of jeans I do.
What, Cat, listen, we'll talk about that later.
I wish they were able to put the headings up here. It's 2,000 allotted, right?
For which one are you
For
talking?
the uniforms.
I think you might be on the wrong, yeah, it's
Oh, it's in
for
2
three-
different
for
places, I'm
2024.
sorry, it is in 2 different places.
Yeah, I think, it's the 2,000 for the 2025? I see it for, 3,000 for 2024. We don't have the headings on every page, so
Right.
that's what throws me off.
I would also like to know, on page, it says 9, but it's revenues, very bottom of the page. 36-00, fourth up from the bottom. Miscellaneous revenues. I want to know what that is.
Did you have a question, Ms. Pope, or a comment? Or-
Both.
Oh. All right, while he's doing that, go ahead.
Okay, and I did this now because it sounds like we're talking about budget or something.
I'm listening, I'm sorry.
Go
No, it's
ahead,
okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I was waiting because you were in conversation.
ma'am.
That's what it was. I was just waiting for that. But my question here is, after listening to everything tonight, then because my concern has been, I've been to City Hall quite a bit and asked about the streets. I know where I live, it is like atrocious. And we're in the city limits. And we're east of the railroad track in our neighborhood. And it gets to a point where I understand money. However, it gets to a point where when your streets become impassable, it's like, okay, what do you say about, and I'm talking about holes, I'm not talking about a bump, a dent. I'm talking about holes. I'm talking about a hole that has become deeper than my arm. And so when you have to start digging dirt and going to throw dirt in something, and all it takes is a day of hot weather and a day of sprinkling, and all of that's gone. And right now, in my neighborhood, we have holes. We just don't have a bump. We have holes. So I don't know where that fits in your budget, but I know it should fit in the budget because we are in the city limits. And just to let you know that in the planning, somehow or another, there should be some dollars and cents, even if it's to let them bring the little baggy stuff they used to bring, but they haven't in the last 6 months or more, and beat it out the bag and pour it in and let it stay, and it does last for a while. But the holes are getting deeper, and I can hear the cars when they pass on my street, because sometimes people who don't live out there are not aware that they're there, especially if it's dark and they can't see it. And when they hit it, even if they're not driving fast, but you can hear it, and I'm inside my house with all my windows closed. So just to let you know that that situation exists
Yes.
in my neighborhood. I don't know what you would.
If I may, Ms. Pope, what subdivision do you live in?
Beg pardon?
Ma'am? What
Archer Woods.
subdivision do you live in?
Archer Woods.
Archer Woods.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, if I may, Mr. Hammond, is there not a grant source fund that we're working on for that and the roadways in that subdivision?
There is, it's down the line, and I'm gonna call Dawn tomorrow and find out if Dawn can help us do something with that in the meantime.
And
Because
just
I
to you,
have-
Ms. Pope, that, just as a reminder, that's a grant source fund for that completely deteriorated street system in Archer Woods.
So, Ms. Polk, I also, after receiving you and your husband's email, I reached out, your son, I'm sorry.
son, yeah.
After receiving your email, I reached out to Alachua County also.
Okay.
And we were instructed to send them some information. We did that. They are supposed to get back with us to, and it actually wasn't just the roads, it was several things that I told him that we needed in the city. So hopefully, they're gonna come back with some help. So, yeah.
And another question, and I know that homeowners are responsible for their property, but when you, and I'm gonna ask this of the city. Elderly, there are quite a few older people who live out there, and I know age doesn't matter. You know, if you have a house, you're responsible for taking care of it. But I'm talking about street type stuff, environmental type things right now. And when there are a lot of oaks, and you know, oak trees in Archer are old, and so therefore you get a lot of
Limbs.
just a lot of limbs, and I don't mind. I pick up, do what and use the trash consistently, But at any rate, not only just that, and I'm not saying that's a burden that the city should
Incur.
incur, thank you. Should incur, it isn't. However, when the road, and I'm here tonight simply because I have come to city, not city, well, the city. I've mentioned this before, because I pay my utility bill and I always come and do it in person. And I have mentioned it, and I have done the email. I heard you say the email, you're right, because my son did, and I told him, I said, something has to be done. I don't complain a lot, but that has gone beyond complaint, because when I come across 27 and I ride through the streets that are in East, West Archer, let's put it that way. I'm giving my northeast, southwest. And then when I go back across the railroad track and I ride through my neighborhood, and I know I'm a taxpaying citizen, it does. It begins to make it wonder, as well as our city in a dire strait or something, or they're just not aware that our streets, because I'm not here to,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about a little doom. I'm talking about
believe-
holes that when I do my arm like this.
Yes, ma'am.
And one of them, because it's in front of my house, so when cars pass on the street and it's nighttime and people may not live out there and they don't know it when they hit it, I mean, you can hear it on the inside, and why? Because they're dropping, it's like they're dropping. And I'm like this. I was born and raised here. This is home. I made a choice to live here, make a choice to still live here. And I have come up and I have shared this information there. But tonight I said, well, maybe I need to start just going to city commission meetings, because maybe somehow another information is not being shared.
No, it's
And at
been
any
shared.
rate, at any rate, just to let you know that it's just not my street. It's kind of like the whole neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've been there since inception and lived in one house. And I'm at the entryway, and because I do, then all the cars pass my way, so that means that everybody who comes in hits that hole. So therefore, it's a continuous thing.
Yes, ma'am.
And not a complaint, but a concern.
Yes, ma'am.
And, well, I guess at this point it is a complaint. And that,
So we do have monies for the budget. We actually had some roles earmarked, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe 346 and what is that? Is that Archer Home?
yeah, 346 passes.
What's
Yeah.
Archer Woods?
Archer Woods is exactly where I'm
Yeah, I
talking
think
about.
that was one of the ones that was at the top. I'm not sure because I don't have that paperwork with me. You're not the only one that has complained about it. And I actually went over to pick up some stuff from a lady that lived over there and saw the roads. So we are aware. All right? But
All
thank
right.
you. So, yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so now that we are aware, because you know me, I'm gonna put my ticker on. And just know that you're aware, and I understand that dollars and cents is what operates a budget.
Yes,
You're much
ma'am.
aware of that. I've raised children and put them all through everything that we all do. But
Thank you.
it comes to a point where it's like, okay,
We do
All
have,
right.
she reminded me I needed to look at this, because we do have budgeted street maintenance for 15,000. We have budgeted for it as high as 50,000 in the
Right,
past.
right.
Last year,
We
it
did.
was, last year it was 35, then it went down to 25, this year it's 15. Then we go to road and street repairs, and it's down to 20, and it's been as high as 50. 50.
Because we did have it at.
My thing is, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So
We
my
did
thing
have it
is,
at
those need to come up. The street maintenance needs to go to 20,000 at least, or 25, to match what, and then, the road and street to at least 35.
Okay, and I think the only reason that it went down is because the county said they are going to help us with roads. But I don't have a problem with.
And we have grant sourcing for her whole subdivision,
Right.
so.
I would rather have more in there for it
Just in case.
and come up with these zeros
yeah.
than I had to have none in there for it. Because right now, our roads are in bad shape. I
The
went
roads
down,
are.
the one over by the school, not by the school, but Park Street. Heaven help us, that's awful.
It's always
I'd
been
rather go
tore
over
up.
my speed bump.
We also,
Anyway, those need to be increased somewhat.
Okay.
But
we also have the wastewater system coming in, and when it tears up the roads, then it's budgeted to replace that and repair or repave that street. That may be some of the justification for the reduction of that. Is that true, Tony?
I'm sorry, sir, I was changing figures on here.
The reduction that we've always periodically or systematically increased every year for repair, street repair, there was some consideration of the wastewater system coming in and the pipes going down the road, the streets, and so that repair or repaving of those streets is going to be included in the budget expense for the wastewater system.
Correct, but also the reason those numbers were high back then is because y'all wanted us to take so much money out of the reserve.
Right, when I asked,
The consensus was to take the money out of the reserve to do road.
that was a one-year hit, that wasn't because we just started reducing, it was now we've gone back to what we systematically have budgeted. And I would hope that there's some consideration for the wastewater system expenditures for the streets.
Correct, everywhere the lines
Pipes.
will go, we'll
Those streets
initiate
will
road
be
repairs and
repaved.
upgrades.
And there was
especially-
consideration in that for keeping this at a lower amount.
Especially in Archer Woods, that whole area will be redone.
By grant sourcing, that's what I'm trying to say. So rather than inflating that number, we can always amend a budget. We know how well we can pull out of reserves if we need to. I'm not justifying that, Commissioner White. I'm just saying, if you go and start adding $30,000 and $40,000 to revenue and street expenses right now with what we're about to adopt with Ms. Fiore's diligent itemized changes, we're not gonna have a balanced budget.
Okay, I'm willing to do, I'm willing to do
Correct,
exactly
not
what
add.
she said, adopt what she gave us with the,
Take the clock off, reduce the sign by $10,000. Yeah, it's in here as a clock, and we never approved a clock anywhere. So if you need to read,
it was the sign.
it was Archer Community Center advertising sign.
Okay, well, thank you. So I'm
Yes, ma'am.
looking forward to,
Yes, ma'am, I just,
Okay.
that's why I
No, I'm
reminded
hearing
the
you.
mayor to
I'm
share with
hearing
you
you.
that there's a whole grant
hearing
sourcing
you.
fund for that whole subdivision that you
Okay.
live in. Because you've lived in, with those streets like that long enough.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a minute.
We've gotten grant
Yes.
approval
Okay,
for that.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I have already spoken to some other people in that neighborhood, the Nettils, Willette, and the Robinsons had already came, and I had went out and took some pictures in front of Miss Nettil house, and that's been almost a year ago. So yeah, we've been out there.
Madam Vice Mayor, the only other, when I reiterated that we were adopting Ms. Fiore's edits and changes and recommendations, the only thing we're not doing is making the split of the 25 and 75 with you. You're going to keep all of yours in the general fund, correct? So,
That will result in a deficit in your general fund, which you cannot do.
unless we take these other reductions that we've taken out of the general fund.
I didn't get all the other reductions, you would have to do the math, but,
Yeah, I mean, and I'm
the
being
10,000
told that we've got our deputy
What we're
clerk taking-
what we're doing is removing Deanna's and Cindy's out of the enterprise fund, moving them to the general fund. Wait a minute. Yeah, we're taking
Which is 60 grand.
Cindy's and Deanna's out of the enterprise fund, moving them to the general fund, taking Calvin's out of the general fund and moving his to the enterprise fund.
Which is 30.
Their total would be about 60,000 going out of the enterprise fund, and his would be 30 going into the enterprise fund.
so it's slightly a wash, yeah, but
It's a
it sounds
30
like it would be
30.
about a wash.
Yeah, that's
Well-
what I just reiterated.
Those two, but not bench
75
his,
and the
not
25
his,
split.
yeah. That's still staying at
And
25
and
cents.
that's why I asked, did he take in consideration his contract ending in May, and was there gonna be a reduction in that? Is that even considered? And you said you kept all that the same at your 6-year salary range.
Well, I mean, it makes sense in my budget world. You're hiring people, the rates keep going up, your experience, I would hate for you to have a deficit there on day one of your new manager, not have enough funds, so you should probably keep that full salary, in my
Okay.
opinion.
That was just a discussion, because I didn't know if he had taken that in consideration. And you put back, instead of the other enterprise fund expense of Carlton, you're putting that back in there, because you took it out,
Not the whole 12 months.
just a portion of it in the enterprise fund, which is a public works employee that.
Okay, so my recommendation to the city was to plug back in that 100,000. So that is already taken care of with that, plus some additional salary dollars that is missing from the budget you have in front of you. So I think you're covered there.
Okay.
And that's in the enterprise fund right now.
Okay. All right. I just want to reiterate, when we adopt all of your recommendations, that there is going to be a little bit of a change with that, because of the discussions we had with
Yeah.
flip-flopping Calvin back into Public Works, the two ladies back into general fund.
Yeah, I think
So
the
I
important
didn't want
thing
you
in your
to vote for the
motion.
25-75 split, and it wasn't going to be there, because that decision was made.
You should make it very clear in your motion that when the budget comes back to you, that it needs to be balanced based on
Yeah.
these. I don't think you have to come up with the final number today.
It's
You
just
just
those
need to
changes have to
adopt
come.
based on your backup, this is my opinion from what I'm used to, your backup plus the changes.
Thank you.
Karen, thank you so much.
I would just reiterate that would be appropriate to take the backup. So essentially what you have in front of you, just to, again, 1,000-foot view, because I think we're kind of granular, so it can make it hard to see where we're at. You have a proposed budget. You have proposed amendments to that budget to balance it out. And then you have also proposed some amendments to the amendments that were suggested. So an appropriate motion, should someone want to do that, would be to adopt the budget with the changes made and suggested by Ms. Fiore, with the exception of the changes that we've just talked about here.
Madam Mayor, for the sake of just clarification, can we ensure that, I thought it was our attorney making those detailed changes, is our deputy clerk comfortable with the changes that we've discussed? Deanna, I just need to hear it from her. Is she okay?
Oh, boy.
Okay, I'm not being a doubting Thomas. I just want to make sure our deputy clerk has all those details.
The other,
Thank you, Tandy.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I will make a motion to adopt this budget with the detailed changes that were made at the dais, as well as our citizens' detailed review, Ms. Karen Fiore, as she's presented to us. With the exception of the 25-75 split.
Plus, and I'll second it, but can you add the millage?
yes, just for the record, your millage, based on what you adopted as your proposed millage rate for the upcoming budget year and the current rollback rate, the percent increase over the rollback rate is 5.6602%. Someone can check me on that, but Deanne already did.
Okay. Okay, then I'll second it.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Hope and a second by Commissioner White. Any commissioner discussion? Further discussion? Public discussion on the motion?
Bill Lewandowski. So I want to speak in favor of the motion. I think it's a good motion. I'd like to encourage you, though, with some of the conversations you had with the 4th of July celebration, et cetera, task the city manager with your recommendations to come up with a shortfall list. So there's obviously lots of shortfalls that you can't do. Come up with a shortfall list, and then come up with an action plan on how to fund those, whether it's going out and asking citizens, grants, whatever it might be, but then you have the plan to get there. So that's my strong recommendation. And as part of that, it's really important to have that dashboard where you're looking every month to see where are we at and where are we going. So you can track that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, for us that may or may not still be together next year, I implore, as the 14-year-old dead horse up here, that workshops, because basically half of what we did tonight was workshop discussions.
Right.
Borrow, Ms. Fiore, the hours that or if you do it every day, I'm sure I'm not insulting you, but it would take me hours to do what you did, so I thank you very much. But I implore us to start the budget workshop process no later than May of each year. For 14 years, I've asked this, and every year we would, and Mr. Hammond, I'm not throwing you under the bus, but I'm saying every year we wait too late. Every year we have this year it was the accounting system priority to get it implemented, and I understand that. But every year for 14 years, this has gone on, and it's not wise to do it that way.
It's not. And it's more
It's just
stressful.
not. It takes the enjoyment out of thinking about our community and what things we want, and having that then come back to us several times to cut back or whatever. We should have those workshops, and they should start in May to include our citizens, so it's proactive, not reactive, as part of that dashboard review.
And I second that motion.
Madam Mayor, it's just a reminder, we really need to do that.
We do.
Thank
Well, I do agree that we need to start earlier. And again, that's why I think that we, in January, need to have a planned calendar, but I didn't know that the budget was being done this late for 14 years, which is, I know it's been done in August and September usually since I've been here. But still, I don't like having to double back and have
It's
meeting
because we
after
had no
meeting
profit
because.
loss
Right.
summer comparison before us for month after
Mm-hmm.
month, which is the dashboard concept, but
Yeah.
it's a normal thing to have a profit loss and a
That's
review
why I
and a
think
comparison.
what this hurt
And we
us.
have not had that in years as well.
Yeah. That's what's hurt us.
It's still public comment, even though the commissioners are talking, so you're good. Public comment anymore? On the motion, yes. No? Okay, yes. All right, so let's go to a vote. I'm sorry, commissioners, are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. All right, all in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Fiore.
Thank you.
All right, so we are at the last comment period. So before I open it up to everybody, I want to say that we lost two great people past couple weeks. I did mention about Carlton a little while ago, one of the public works workers. And then Richard Fiegel lost his, I think it was his youngest son, Ryan. So I went to both of those funerals, but they were two great people, very compassionate, worked hard. It is, they're gonna be missed. When you come across their families, if you come across their families, be a little compassionate, I guess I would say. Keep them in your prayers, because I'm pretty sure it is hard on both families to lose, such, I want to say young people, because Carlton was fairly young as well, but Ryan definitely was young. So I want us to keep that in mind. And I also sent resolutions for both of them from the city. I sent a resolution to Carlton's family and to Ryan's family. All right, so public comment, 3 minutes, please.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Charlie Tufano. I just want to clarify earlier that I was merely trying to communicate my frustration. If I came across as if I was throwing rocks and stones, it was certainly not my intention. Concerned about the city I live in, and so I'd like to work with you guys. So if that's the case, I do apologize. Hopefully it didn't come across that way.
Thank you for your apology. And Mr. Tufano, I do enjoy working with all of you, and I actually listen to everybody's comments, even if I disagree. I do listen to them, and I pay attention to them. So hopefully I wasn't rude either, because that's not my intention. You're not the first one to stand at that microphone and pretty much say that I'm not doing anything, when you guys have no idea how much I am going, how much I am working, how much I am communicating with the attorney and the city manager. So that was my point. And so it wasn't that you're the only one that continues to throw at me. It happens all the time. And I just try to be the bigger person and not go through all of that. So I do appreciate you. I appreciate whatever you are saying from that microphone, because it does make me have a second look. All right? So it's never my intention to be rude or disrespectful.
Madam Mayor, in respect to you, it's just as a reminder for new citizens that may not understand or not aware, we operate under a weak mayor system, so therefore, when anyone comes with a complaint, and I'm not taking anything away from you, Madam Mayor, I equally take that complaint or that compliment as you do. And no disrespect, talking about a weak mayor system, but she doesn't have any more, that person as the mayor has no more authority than the rest of us, nor responsibility. And that is different from an authoritarian mayor. She, as well as anybody that has that position as a mayor, will speak on our behalf of anything that we've spoken about, or as a courtesy of what she just said, respectfully with someone passing. But everything else is equal up here on the dais on the responsibility. Even the old guy up here for 14 years asking for something, can we get it done? That's a lack of my ability to have authority to demand that we have workshops, but I'm a believer in the budgetary workshop system, and I will tell every representative on this dais until I'm off of it. We do much better when we can proactively work through workshops to get things done, whether it be the budget, whether it be where do we want Archer to go as far as land development codes and these things we're trying to do. It's growing pains that we're going through because we're doing things that we have not done in a long time. No excuses, but I'm just, between the grant sourcing that's going on, I remind everyone we have upwards of 11 grants in place right now. We've never taken on that kind of burden. And it's not a burden, it's an opportunity. But certainly the wastewater system, certainly the accounting system and changing that, and that blasphemous failure that we have right now. The intent was to make sure that our utility billing was going to be trustworthy and accurate. That's what drove that accounting system change, more so than anything else, so that we would have trust in the from the community in a new revenue sourcing called wastewater. And it's been an abysmal failure. And I take full responsibility for that because I voted for it. I trusted that it was the system of choice. But I've had an accountant tell me personally, why did you get rid of QuickBooks? And he's the one in here auditing. A municipality your size should be on QuickBooks. So
That was the main reason.
I'm not blaming you, Tangi, at all.
No, that was the main reason.
But you know,
My biggest problem with the utility billing system that we had before was you couldn't see history. But the main reason we started talking about getting
so we could do
another thing in the first place was
wastewater
because QuickBooks used to be messing up
all the time, and we wanted a more accurate system, and so we abandoned the QuickBooks, but that's where we're at now. So, sorry, Madam Mayor. Out of time.
Yes. Any further public comments?
It's not time to commission the whole.
I know, right?
It's start timing you. No, you're good.
Brenda Skinner, resident.
Yes, ma'am.
First, I want to thank you guys for your diligence this evening. I know that was difficult. Secondly, we also have a problem with the road, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I live on 132nd Avenue, and Venable Street runs into 132nd Avenue. A lot of people go to Ace Hardware. They leave Ace Hardware, they go up and they take a left onto that little dirt road. A lot of people like to go and turn that corner, and because of that, we have a hole like this, in fact, a couple of them, right there. And so it's very hard to turn there with a small car without bottoming out. And we've done some repairs of our own. That hasn't worked very well. And we've asked a couple of times to have it fixed. It hasn't been fixed yet. So if you could put that one, Mr. Manager, on your list as well, we would appreciate that.
I think
because it definitely needs to be fixed.
Yes, ma'am. I think that one sounds familiar, but I'm gonna go back and look at that list, but I think that one is also on that list.
Okay. And on a lighter note, as a member of First Archer Methodist Church, get my mouth working here, I would like to invite all of you to our third free community dinner that will be this Friday night. We're having a spaghetti dinner with all the fixings, 5:30 this Friday night. So come on down and join us, and all the citizens as well.
Thank you. I got, what is going on the 20th? I got something.
Since Tony's announced his retirement, I think it's a good idea to come up with a timeline in terms of his replacement, because you know how long it takes to get a new employee. Plan this thing now, put the timeline out so that you don't have, you're not stuck with having to have an interim city manager for some unknown period of time. So now's the time to start planning that. Mayor, I hear what you're saying, but I also think that you need to understand that some of the citizens have spent thousands of dollars over the past couple of months defending what they thought were their property rights. I mean, thousands of dollars.
I do
Okay,
understand that.
and they have put in hundreds of hours of research, including Karen. So when you hear people getting kind of upset, that's what's going on in the background.
And I don't mind people getting upset and saying what they are saying. I listen, and that was my point, that even if I disagree, I still listen. Most of the
right.
time,
I got that, and I understand it, I really do. But I also want to make sure you understand the perspective of some of the.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because when you have to write those big checks because you think you're protecting your property rights, whether you agree or not, it's a big deal for people, and it's money that can go to do something else.
I totally agree.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah.
Anyone else? If that be all, we are adjourning at 8:57. Everybody have a good night.